Hello? Syllabus? Check. Checking the mic. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Yep, I think so. Here we go.
Talk Show.
It's on.
Now.
Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. It's a kind of an impromptu xjtalk.com talk show on New Year's Eve. The family has all gone to a party. I'm at home alone, so I figured I would do something fun. Actually, I was trying to do something on a Photoshop type of... I'm sorry, Dalton, is the volume not high enough? Oh, he's talking to Wayne. Okay. Anyway, I was trying to do some stuff in Photoshop for the site, and I was getting really frustrated, so I said, the hell with it, I'll just put on a show. So I've got the voicemail line forwarded to the home phone, so you can just call the number that's scrolling at the top of the screen if you'd like to call in and be on the air. And the term on the air is being used very loosely.
This is Big Jim 350, and I love xjtalk.com.
Yeah.
xjtalk.com.
xjtalk.com.
It's where you go when you're not off-road.
Okay, I've been dying to play this one.
I just wanted to say XJ Talk is the best site in the world, and if you think you know of a better site, you. By the way, this is Big Jim 350. Bye.
Now, they aren't aware of this, but, they're going to be, the show's going to be brought to you by Detours and Ironman 4x4 again. This segment brought to you by DetoursUSA.com. 10 years of innovating, not imitating XJ products. Check out www.DetoursUSA.com. And Detours wants to remind everyone to practice safe sex. No pig borking till you wrap that rascal. Thank you. Okay, what we got in here? We've got 3 viewers. We've got Big Jim, Wayne, and Dalton. That's enough. That's enough to have a show. I sent out a message. I wasn't feeding anything. Jim is starting to apologize for the voicemail he left. Jim, it's hilarious.
I just wanted to say XJ Talk is the best site in the world, and if you think you know of a better site, you. By the way, this is Big Jim 350. Bye.
That's great. That's exactly what I was looking for, Jim. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know if any of the 3 of you want to call in. Wayne, if you want to get Skype going, I've got the Skype hooked up. It would be my first test, so we may have to fiddle with it a bit. But you can give me a call on Skype, and I can put it here on the show. You may have to stop watching the show because of your bandwidth. It may not want to do both at the same time. Yeah, good voicemails, Jim. Let's see. I think that's the only one I have. Those are the only ones I have from Jim. Okay, great. I'll wait for the call.
I just wanted to say XJ Talk is the best site in the world, and if you think you know of a better site, you. By the way, this is Big Jim 350. Bye. This is Big Jim 350, and I love xjtalk.com.
That's great. Well, Dalton, you need to get Skype. It's free. I mean, that's about that's about 90% of what I do. The only thing I spend money on is Jeep parts. Excuse me while I take a drink. I know it's nothing that you guys are drinking because it's just iced tea. Where's my pip? There we go. I forgot about the pip. I did remember to hit all the record buttons. I've got 2 record buttons that I've got to hit. And Wednesday, I forgot to hit the record button on UStream. That's why we're missing the first few minutes of it. So what are you guys doing tonight? I mean, I don't like going to the family get-togethers. It's a long ways away, good 20 miles. And it's really loud. And I sit there. There's nothing to do. I have my smartphone now. I guess I could do stuff on the internet. But for the most part, I just sit there and get really bored. My wife comes by and checks on me ever so often and says, gosh, I need to get up, talk to people. I said, I'm fine. What am I going to talk to people about? Besides that, it's hard to hear them. I never was very good at the clubs either, especially since I don't drink. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna put a little thing here on the in the chat room. Oh, I see you did, Dalton. The other chat room, the xjtalk.com chat room. Which, by the way, this show is brought to you by xjtalk.com. Let's see, how does it go? What does the promo say?
xjtalk.com.
xjtalk.com.
It's where you go when you're not off-road.
We're certainly not off-road, and here we are. Oh, too bad, Big Jim. Okay. Thanks for checking in, Big Jim, and thanks a lot for the voicemails. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, well, we should be getting a Skype call from New Zealand here if everything goes right and the wind is blowing in the right direction and so on and so forth. Let's see. Yeah, I should have a new one for me. Yes, I do, Dalton. I haven't gone through and modified it yet. I go through and equalize the sound and boost the amplify it a bit if necessary, and I haven't messed with it yet. Let me see. I bet you I can just try playing it. It may sound like because I haven't processed it, but what the heck? Yep, it is. Here we go. I'll give it a shot.
Hi, this is 404 Dalton. Hoping everybody had a safe and happy New Year. Got a question. Once you install a lift, is there a break-in period for it, or can you just go full bore as soon as the lift is installed? Thank you.
It's funny. When I first listened to that, I heard winch. Do you have a break-in period for a winch? And I don't know why. I guess I was reading the transcript as I was listening to it. But a break-in period for a lift, I've never heard of one. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I know you're supposed to go back and check to make sure everything's tight after, 100 miles or something? And we only have 2 people to choose from, so 2 people and a guest, and the guest isn't going to be typing much. Hey, it's a voice. There's some people that can't talk. I forgot to get my straw. I needed a straw for that. That way I could kind of sit it over here, and as I needed, I could sip out of it. I need a rather long straw for that mug. That's a nice big mug. I like to have lots of tea with me. But I've gotten where I'm not as thirsty as I used to be, and the ice keeps melting. And that's kind of frustrating. I guess I need a little mini fridge just for some ice that I can grab and throw in the tea. It amazes me. I can sit here and talk about tea, and you guys are here listening to it. I was going to send out some information on Facebook, but I'm not logged in. See if I could suck in some of my Facebook friends. Well, let me try cranking up the other browser. Firefox. There we go. My Firefox browser, and see if it will run all these apps at one time. I like to try to minimize some of the things that I run because there's I guess the memory usage isn't too bad. Processor usage isn't too bad. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm just going to type in here real quick that doing a live show. I'm doing this on my personal Facebook account. Let's see. Hey, doing a live UStream talk show. Come watch. And I'll throw in the website information. Okay. See if see if we can suck anybody in on that. And I think it went out here on the XJ Talk Facebook site. Just looking here real quick. Yeah, it's not really big though, so I'm going to do it again. Not sure if we've brought anybody in from the Facebook site yet. I was scheduling events on Facebook and informing the 400 or 500 or so friends that I have, or XJ Talk has, on Facebook, but I'm not too sure any of them were showing up. And I don't know if I want to hear this thing ring for Skype or not. I'll get this, just kind of call it up and have it here so I can see it. Don't want to miss Wayne's call. Dalton, I can do, I don't know if you have the unlimited, or you don't have to pay extra for long distance, but I can do the Skype and the landline at the same time. So if you want to call in on the landline, or if you want to shoot me your number, I'll give you a call, and I'll get both you and Wayne on here at the same time. You know, you have to have good neck muscles if you want to have, you know, really good size drinks on your helmet like that. Okay. I'm going to give Dalton a call. Let's see. I'm going to mute this line and dialing the number. Oh, I can't hardly get to the things. I guess I'll pick up the phone. Okay. It's ringing here, Dalton. 2 ringy dingies. Is it ringing there?
Hello?
Dalton?
Yeah.
You don't sound country on the phone. Thought maybe I'd been sucked into calling the wrong number. Can you hear me okay? I turned the volume down a little bit on my feed to the phone.
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good.
Good. What's up?
Not much.
Okay, wait. Wayne's calling. Let's see. Wayne, can you hear me? Not hearing Wayne. And that's Skype. That's on. I'm not hearing Wayne. Let's see. Got the volume all the way up. Let me just check the options here. Audio settings. I see my sound is going out. I hear the little test there from Skype. Sounds a little low. We can adjust that if and when we start hearing Wayne.
Yeah, he had they had another quake a little while ago.
Oh, really? How bad was it?
4.4.
Oh, I hear something. I hear him.
Yeah, I just plugged it in, mate.
Yeah, got to plug the stuff in.
So you can hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, good as gold. I was hearing you for the last 5 seconds.
Yeah, I was hoping you were
How you
hearing me. Good. So on the phone, I have Dalton 4x4, xjtalk member. And Dalton, where are you located? Virginia?
Virginia.
Yep. Dalton's located in Virginia, United
Or as Wayne likes to say, the Viagra state.
There you go. I would take that.
State.
I would take that as a compliment. And Wayne is actually, and that's CAN tab 27, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Wayne. And
Yeah, no, that's right.
Wayne is in New Zealand,
Christchurch, New Zealand.
where the ground never stopped shaking.
Yeah, we had a good one before, 4.4.
That's what Dalton was saying, that you had a bit of a shake earlier. How long ago was that?
It was at 10 past 2, and it's now 20 to 4, I think.
Just adjusting the levels on your audio. It's a little low. I think it's Skype. I don't think it's you. So are y'all still getting damage from those things? Or is everything that's going to fall apart falling apart?
There was damage on the Boxing Day once.
Yeah, and I don't know. That would... how's the wife handling all this?
They're all good. I've just... my teenage boys just walked in and given me grief.
About?
Just him. I was just talking to... I'm talking to other people.
Oh, okay.
He just wants to know who I'm talking to. Would you like to say hello, Jordan? No, he doesn't want to say hello.
He's shy. I didn't think that New Zealanders were shy.
No, he's just...
I'm sure he's at the right age for that, too.
He's good at it, too.
Aren't we all?
Don't know where he gets it from.
So, how's the... you recently got a 12,000-pound winch on the front of your Jeep. How you liking it?
Yeah, I've used it twice now. I pulled the boy out of the mud the other day with it as well.
And I can't remember, what is he driving?
He's got that wee Feroza. The one what sleeps on its side.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's got a dent on the side of it, doesn't it?
He's got lots of dents on the side.
Well, I guess he's learning right. I have a hard time denting a vehicle. It makes me feel bad.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry?
Oh, what was that you said, sorry?
I have a hard time denting a vehial. I don't like it. I don't like doing it.
I say your wife does, though.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's kind of my fault, though. The rear tires needed to be replaced. I wish she had checked with me before she left. I would have taken her, or at least talked her into taking the Jeep.
At least they're all right. That's the main thing, mate.
Yeah, that's true. And I get to learn. I get to learn a little body work on the Mustang.
All your vehicles red.
The red is our favorite color, and that's one of the reasons why we got the Jeep. She really liked that color red, and I did too. And then later, when she had an opportunity to get another vehicle, well, actually, it wasn't get another vehicle. My stepson, her son, was driving the 95 Ford Aerostar van, and somebody rear-ended him. So it was totaled, and we went and got another vehicle, and that vehicle was a Mustang. It was a standard.
What year's the Mustang?
96.
What year's the Mustang?
It's a 96. And we got the Mustang. It's a standard transmission, and it was red. She loved it. Now, I was kind of a little. I knew she knew how to drive a standard, but I was a little surprised she was interested in buying one and having that as her vehicle that she drove all the time.
It's cool.
Yep. I'm hoping she didn't bend one of the axles. I could hear the tire kind of making a noise while I was driving it back home.
Might be a tire, mate, or a rim.
The rim definitely took a good hit. It slid up against that concrete wall. You can see that it's eaten up pretty good.
You might have a wee bone or something.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. Hadn't felt like it actually.
So what's Dalton up to?
The back of it.
What's that, Dalton?
It may have been a piece of the back of the rim when it slammed up against it.
Yeah, it hit pretty hard. You can tell by looking at the impact. I think she hit harder than what I did when I did basically the same thing in my Jeep before I started doing all the build-up. I crunched the same side of the vehicle. They actually had to reskin the back rear quarter panel, the driver's side quarter panel.
Maybe you should all get 4-cylinder vehicles then, eh?
I can get a 4-cylinder going fast. This takes longer.
Still go sideways.
She was doing. We got about 4 inches of rain on that day, and she was going really slow because of the problem with it getting loose on the rear end. And she felt it kind of wiggle on her a little bit, but she had to hit the brakes, tap on the brakes to keep from getting too close to a car in front of her, and that's when it broke away from her. And it was just a hydroplane because the tires were marginal. I mean, I just got it inspected not too long ago, so the tires were okay. They just weren't good for that much rain. So she had new front tires.
It was easy enough.
Yep. I just wish the car I don't mind so much. I just wish she hadn't have. She's been suffering for the past couple of days with stiff neck and back, and I still don't understand why her face has been bothering her. She didn't hit anything inside the car.
Should be checked out.
Sorry? Oh no. Holidays and stuff were coming up, and I've been in.
Oh, true.
I've been in a couple of things, and she wasn't hurt. There was no bruising or anything. I just figured she was more scared than anything else.
Be nice to just be dented pride.
We're getting a wireless caller coming in.
Did the airbags come out?
No, it didn't.
Huh.
But it did shut off the fuel pump. There's a switch in the back of the Mustang, and had I thought about that or actually tried that button, I probably would have just driven it from there. Got the record driver or the police officer to block the traffic there on I-10, so I could turn it around. She was actually facing backwards along the wall on I-10. It wouldn't start there, and but it was drivable. I drove it home. I wound up having to pay $140 to have it towed to a gas station. I'm still off about that. We have a thing here in Houston that the former mayor put in place that's called Safe Clear. I think it's what it is, a Safe Clear program. So if you run out of gas, blah 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 blah. The whole idea was to get. I'm getting another call. I'm sorry, Stefan. I've got both lines tied up right now. I'll get with you here in just a minute. It's Stefan B74. I think that's the guy from our website.
That's the French guy.
Yeah.
That ends Terrell
he's cool.
from Virginia.
I'm sorry?
Terrell, member of the club, into the site, said that you hung up on him too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't hang up on him. He called on his cell on the phone that you're on.
Ah.
So I could hang up on you and answer his.
I'll get off, mate. You can talk to them.
No. I mean, if you're ready to get off, that's fine. I don't need to. I'm not trying to rush anybody off here. I mean, we were just.
No, I'll jump in on Wednesday.
Okay. Hey, thanks a lot for. Thanks a lot for calling in.
The computers in the lounge have got a full lounge, and they're trying to watch TV.
Gotcha. Well, thanks a lot for checking out the Skype, and also too the audio quality is great coming through Skype and from all the way from New Zealand.
Yeah, well, it works better than Landline, and I just want to send a message out to Jim.
right ahead.
A shout out to Jim, as my wife just said. Yeah, Jim, how the beep you going, mate? I just thought I'd throw the beep in for the hell of it. I'll talk to you all later.
Thanks a lot, Wayne, and you continue having a good New Year. Hopefully, a
shaky New Year.
Hopefully that's going to stop, or just get it over with.
Hey, it's good to hear you, Wayne.
I'll talk to you all on Wednesday.
All right, thanks, man.
Okay, guys.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, guys. Skype is now open if you want to give me a call. We've got Dalton on the landline, so I can't accept any more calls on the landline without hanging up on Dalton. I should have said that earlier, but I was surprised I had two people to talk to. Well, let's see. No, here we go. I wonder why the viewers doesn't keep updating. I have to update the number of the viewers. It shows me 4 viewers, but it doesn't show me all the names. So anyway, Dalton, that was pretty cool. I thought the audio from Wayne's computer sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it did.
Were you able to hear him okay?
Yeah. Of course, some of those Kiwi words kind of threw me a little bit.
It does me too. I guess I'm the ugly American. I don't, try to be polite and just figure it out as I'm talking. I'll stop and say, what does that mean? I do that when people use big words too. I think a lot of times people do that as an intimidation factor to show you how smart they are or how much smarter they are than you.
You ain't never got to worry about that from me then.
And, well, what I do is I just play into it. I just say, hey, what does that mean? And why do you keep using all those $5 words? You're talking, I'm from Texas. Well, I guess, Stefan, are you going to call back? From Utah. Okay. Steph74. Great.
Yeah, I asked those questions on site today. I figure it's good questions. Been bouncing around in my head for a couple of days.
Let me play that again since we got a few more people on here. Let's see, that was the new one, so I need to come over here, and I'll have to turn it up a bit.
Hi, this is 404 Dalton, hoping everybody had a safe and happy New Year. Got a question. Once you install a lift, is there a break-in period for it, or can you just go full bore as soon as the lift is installed? Thank you.
So, the guys in the chat room, any ideas about that? Let's see. Terrell says most people pronounce it like Terrell. Oh, okay. That's always good for me because I don't pronounce things well at all. And let's see. Just looking at my Skype here. Oh, Terrell's calling me. Welcome to the xjtalk.com talk show.
Hold on, I think I got to turn one of these down.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't mention that. You have to turn the show down because there's quite a bit of a delay. It'll confuse the hell out of you.
There we go.
I can't even hear it and it confuses me.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you great.
Yeah, I can hear you too.
Dalton Dalton can hear you on the phone.
Hey.
Yeah, hey, were you asking about the lift something?
Yeah, if there was a break-in period once you installed a lift, say like a brand name bought lift.
I don't know. I mean, mainly what you're gonna look at is if you bought a kit versus if you're just doing a pack or something like that.
Yeah.
It ain't really a break-in period as much as you got to make sure that everything is, holding together before you start just dumping it on everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like before you're just going to go off-road and start jumping stuff, you want to ride on the road a little bit, make sure that nothing is, doing any unusual creaks, nothing is loose or anything like that. But no, as far as installing a lift, I mean, you're good to go from day one. If you've done it right, there ain't no break-in period.
Yeah, about the only thing I was adding to that is that you need to, it's whatever the instructions say, check it 50 miles, 100 miles or something just to make sure everything's still tight.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main part of it is that some things, like, I don't know if you know this, but most of the time if you put alloy wheels, you're supposed to retighten your lug nuts after like 100 miles or so, they'll loosen up.
I didn't know
aluminum.
about that. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I didn't know about that. That's news to me.
Yeah, because aluminum has a little bit of a give, Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, I mean, the lug nut's going to start loosening up a little bit, and mainly because it's not holding in there by the thread. It's holding in there by the taper. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just some things like that. If it's steel wheels, you can just crank the ever-livings out of them and just do whatever you want. With aluminum, you don't want to over-torque it, you don't want to under-torque it, then you want to recheck it after 100 miles, just for it to break in. And with the lift, it's the same thing, Certain things, even if you just torqued it for like a 90, 100 foot-pounds of torque, in a week of driving, things might shift, move over, give, I don't know, stretch. You know, that's why they always say don't get your U-bolts from like the Advanced Auto and stuff like that. You know, get some quality U-bolts for your axles, because I've known several people actually that have had Advanced Auto, actually not Advanced, the AutoZone U-bolts, and they stretch after a while. The threads will stretch out, you know?
Okay.
You know, just stuff like that. But no, it ain't like breaking in a motor where you gotta, you know, take it easy, make everything settle, and everything is gonna settle in whether you slam it or you just drive it on the road.
Let me ask you a question about bolts. Do you know anything about head bolts? From what I understand, you're supposed to use them once.
Well, it depends. It's, I mean, yeah, even if they're rated for more than, you know, to be used more than once, studs, you can go 3 or 4 times on them, but, I mean, I wouldn't ever put the original head bolts back on if I'm just rebuilding the motor. You know, it's just cheap security.
Well, that was my other question, is they're pretty expensive, aren't they?
Yes and no. I mean, yeah, they're more expensive than just going ahead and buying a regular grade A bolt, but if you were to look at it, you know what you got to lose. I mean, someone messes up. See, the problem with a thread is that I'm a machinist. I do this day in and day out as far as the thread calculation, engagement, and everything like that. The thread itself is holding in there by the taper. When you look at it, it automatically looks like sharp point is coming against the sharp point, and it all the way fits in. You know, it doesn't work that way. There's like certain degrees, angles, tapers inside of every thread that makes a difference how much, you know, that thread, how much torque can be applied to that thread, you know?
So what you're talking about is the same thing like on a spline for an axle or any part of the drivetrain. It's the surface area that is actually touching.
Yeah, it's there's the area called addendum, area called dedendum. There's all different areas of the thread that actually in the contact. Actually, believe it or not, it's exactly the same terms used on the axle splines too.
Gotcha.
It makes a difference on how the thread connects and where the thread's weak points are. Because like there's usually 3 classes of threads: A, B, C. You know, 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. Like class. Well, a lot of times in automotive they use class 2. That's between 2 and 4 thousandths tolerance on the plate. But do you realize that if sometimes you would to say your threads screw up and you go ahead and rechase it and you take your tap out of it, then you put the bolt back and it's way too loose.
Interesting.
You know, that's because you might have used the class 3 tap on a class 1 bolt.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see. So it
would have been the same thing, but it's not. You know,
it's probably not the right terminology. So the mating surfaces aren't the surface area that is actually in contact isn't what it should be.
Exactly. It's say a thread comes to a point, right? It's a standard American is a 60-degree thread, mm-hmm. you know, mm-hmm. and technically speaking, the entire 60 degrees involves, you know, is wrapped around the from internal to external, but you have to have certain amount of give. I don't know. It's just so many different factors play into it that you just have to leave some extra space, basically clearance.
That's amazing. I had no idea. It makes sense though.
Yeah. But then you got to also consider that you have equipment that can afford to have that clearance. Then you have equipment that cannot afford to have that clearance. Say, for example, if you're going to have a oscillating, vibrating part, it needs to have a tighter tolerance fit thread, and you can afford to have it, you know, seize on you, because you'd rather it seize than break loose. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Versus you have other equipment that you would rather break loose than seize on you there, you know? Say you have an equipment that you're going to have to change the bolts or change parts on it once a day, you know, versus equipment that's, you know, once you do it, you don't ever want to take it apart again, you know?
Right.
That kind of stuff makes a big difference too, you know, in the classes of threads.
Well, they make everything difficult. You can't just have anything easy anymore.
Yeah, it's true, but if you were to actually look at it from a machinist standpoint, there's actually, it's not difficult enough, you know? Sometimes you're actually trying to make a, like I see some stuff that comes down from engineers. They want you to make a specialty part with a specialty thread and a specialty fitting. The worst, for a normal machinist, the biggest nightmare is when they ask you to do a back thread, you know? That's something that, for example, it will be a thread that once it gets to the tip of it, it's going to stretch out. It's almost like a screw thread, spiral thread.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it will stretch out after a while as it goes into it. And it's really difficult to keep up with it because it's not a standard pitch, But when you look at it, some of the things that they make in a non-standard pitch, it has so many advantages. I wish I could actually, there's so many different things that I could show you. You'd be like, wow, who came up with this? It's really simple looking. For example, it's a wing nut that it has 3 axes. Well, actually 2 axes. One axis is the axis that the thread rides on, the internal threads ride on, right?
Right.
And there's another axis right in the center of the same axis that is about 30 degrees out, diagonal, 30 degrees upwards. So when you actually want to put this wing nut on a, say, for example, 1.5 foot long threaded rod, you don't have to put it from the top and just start spinning it until it gets to the bottom of it. That secondary axis will let it slide all the way to the end of that threaded rod, and when you get to the end of it, you just move it over that 30 degrees and it locks right in.
I'm sorry, Dalton, you were going to say something a while back. What was it you were going to say or ask?
No, I was just listening to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I don't know if anybody wanted to call in or not. I was just going to call in and say hi.
Hey, no problem. That was some really interesting information. I had no idea. I mean, I just put them in, torque them down, and then hope they don't come apart, especially on the head. I did have a question about I was talking about price on the head bolts. I've never actually priced any. I don't know, but it seems like to me I heard they're over $100. Have you priced any? Do you have any idea?
No, I've never rebuilt a 4.0. But when I look from the top, I mean, most of the motors that I've seen that look like this, they're studded. This motor actually looks like it's studded. I'm not sure if it is or not.
I haven't had the head off myself, so I'm only used to. I've only done a 350 and a 327 Chevy engine. So
yeah, I've done too many 4-cylinders. I've only done 2 V8s in my entire lifetime. But I mean, you know what I'm talking about? How the studs stick out from the top of the head.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't know personally.
Yeah, but 4.0 actually, to me, it looks like it's studded. I can't believe I've had the valve cover off it and I've never paid attention to it. But $100, it sounds about reasonable.
Okay. Yeah, I've been having a heat creep problem with mine, and I don't know that it is I don't know that it's a head leaking. Sorry, just trying to do something here. This thing keeps popping up and bothering me. And let me get rid of that. Yeah, I don't know if I need to run a gas test on it, exhaust gas test on it. Although I drove it day before yesterday to go pick up my girls. Yeah, my wife spun out in the Mustang, so it's down right now. So I had to go get the girls, and it didn't get hot. I mean, it was acting like it did before, but it didn't get over 210. So I've just been trying to figure out why it's running hot on the highway.
Okay, have you actually checked the radiator by hand to make sure that, because when you do an infrared test, it might be not pointing to the exact places that you want to look at, because when you feel the radiator by hand, first of all, yeah, you're probably going to burn your hand up pretty bad. You just got to be really careful, but there might be exact passages that are blocked. Well,
I think you and I were talking about this on chat, xjtalk.com chat the other day. And it's kind of hard to get all the information in chat and not, go for lines and lines. But basically, I didn't take off the grill so I could put my hand on there.
Okay.
I didn't remove the air conditioner condenser so that I could actually get to the hole of the radiator. And that's true also of the IR scan. So I'm trying to scan the edges, really, of the radiator. So I can't feel the whole thing. I can't scan the whole thing because I'd have to remove the air conditioner condenser, and I don't think that I could maintain the Freon or whatever the compressible gas is.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it would be very difficult to put my hand on that. So all I did was I scanned it from the side that had the mechanical fan, and I scanned it on the side that had where the electrical fan is. And also, too, I had the radiator out there was a tiny leak in it, enough where it would just get the coils wet. But I went ahead and took it out because, I didn't want it to get worse on me. And took it over, and the radiator guy, I said, can you do a flow test on it? And he did. And he says, this radiator flows very well.
Okay.
And it's a 3-core. So, I've done the 3-core before, went back in my 327, 350 days, and any heating problem that I had went away. But really, with it being here in the Houston area, we very seldom have any freezes. I ran pure water most of the time.
Yeah.
And we really don't have any calcium or anything like that. Actually, at my parents' house is where I was at the time. It's well water. So, it's about as filtered as you can get.
Yeah. No, I don't think that the actual liquid would be a problem. How about, have you tried this? Try to, when it gets hot, just open the radiator up if you just run in water and stick a hose in there and take the bottom of the bottom hose coming out of the water pump, take it off and put a water hose in the radiator and see if it will cool it down really fast. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. It probably would, because it's kind of like borderline right now. It doesn't overheat on the freeway. It just runs hot. It gets up past the 210 mark. It's not a linear measurement on that gauge, on the Jeep gauge, by the way. I hooked up a OBD2 scanner to my laptop, and it actually is quite a bit hotter than what you would think the graduated marks are indicating.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was getting quite a bit hotter than what it was leading me to believe. So anyway, this phone is beeping. I don't know why. Oh, swell. They haven't charged this one. That's why it's beeping. Hey, Dalton, I'm going to have to hang up on you and go grab the other phone.
Okay, well, you can go ahead and let somebody else call in if you want to.
Okay, Dalton, thanks a lot for calling in, and, of course, for all the voicemails.
No problem.
And you have a Happy New Year.
You too.
Hey, Happy New Year, Dalton.
You too, Terrell.
All right, man.
Bye.
Okay, well, I'll go grab the other phone. See, this is why I want my own phone. I just ordered one. I've got two teenage girls and my wife live here, and they use these phones. And they use them, and they never put them in the charger. When I find them, I'll stick them in the charger. I never talk on the phone. I've got a cell phone, and I'm on the chat room and stuff. So all my communications is usually email or text or etc. And I hardly ever talk on the phone anymore. Yeah. So anyway, what was I trying to? You were telling me to run some water through. It's borderline. I actually it doesn't get to that first hash mark after 210, even on the hottest days. So all the modifications that I've made to the cooling system have helped. They've helped out quite a bit. But I'm just trying to get it where it runs at the normal temperature on the 100-degree days, and I'm on the highway doing 75, 80 miles an hour.
Well, if it's doing it on the highway, the only time my green one has done it is we went to the safari park here, and it was probably about 96, 98 degrees outside, and the fan would stay on, but even the fan couldn't keep up. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I'm having. Yeah, it's going right about, I don't know, if I were to have to take a guess, I'd say about 230, maybe 240, Yeah. It would climb that much. But by the way, one of the, if you absolutely have no choice, you got to shut it down in the situations like that, because shutting it down actually cuts the circulation, Right. It will heat the motor up even more. Exactly. From the internal heat. So if you have a choice, you have to actually drive off instead of just sitting there and shutting it down. But I didn't think much of it because I was standing still for 5 minutes at a time, taking pictures and stuff like that. But it absolutely should not do it on a highway going 50, 60 miles an hour. Yeah, I agree. And actually, with all the modifications that I've made, sitting still or even crawling around off-road, it's great. I have no problem. I've got the induction cowl scoop with a nice big hole in the hood, and all the modifications that I told you about the heavy-duty clutch, fan clutch out of that's actually made for the Grand Cherokee. That thing squeals. It's irritating, but it really, you can tell how much quicker everything gets cooler with that, along with the high flow stuff.
Let me ask you a quick question. I'm going to go grab the other phone, and I was going to put some music on. Would you like to hold on while I do that, or?
Oh no, I was about. Unless you had any other questions, I'm gonna be in the chat room. I gotta go. I'm making a stew. I gotta go check on that too.
Okay. Oh, a stew. That sounds good.
Oh yeah. Wife wanted some.
Well, thanks a lot for calling in, and thanks a lot for being a member on xjtalk.com. We really appreciate that and all the posts, and certainly appreciate the information you gave us tonight. It was very interesting.
Glad to help.
All right, have a good night and a Happy New Year.
All right, Happy New Year, all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, I'm going to throw some music up and go grab the other phone, and hopefully it won't die on me too. Actually, I'll throw this one at the charger just to be safe. So I'll be right back.
Looking for silence forever the same. Door to my house looks like open this day. Maybe I want to hear when he's calling my name. Maybe I want to listen to the sound of the rain forever to last. Looking for silence forever the same. Door to my house looks like open this day. Maybe I want to hear when he's calling my name. Maybe I want to listen to the sound of the rain forever to last.
Okay, I know that doesn't sound like porno music. You guys were giving me a hard time that the music that I found, and I got to underline found because it has to be non-copyrighted stuff. So this music that I found, which I think is pretty good for free, may sound like some porno music. Personally, I think you guys are watching too much porno is the problem. Okay, so the volume level may not be right on the phone. We'll adjust that as we get a caller, but currently the phone and Skype are both available, so you can call me on either one. So those of you that have been that were trying to call that couldn't get through, please feel free to call again. I tell you what, it's neat being able to talk to people on the phone because you Terrell says it was a rave, buddy. Okay, we got an incoming call. Let's see who this is. Hey, thanks for calling xjtalk.com. Who we got?
Excuse me? May I speak to Susie, please?
I'm sorry. She's not here. Yep, she's not here. You'll need to try giving her a call on her cell phone if you've got that number. I think she's gone. Okay. Yeah, it's a bad thing. I don't know. When I'm getting the phone call in, I don't know if it's coming from the number I've given you guys, or they're actually calling the home number. If things go well, I might be able to get our own XJ Talk call-in line. At least it wasn't a bill collector call-in this time. Hey, Big Jim's back. I wonder if you found a plug. So again, if you guys are Skype has actually a much better sound quality, and I don't guess you really care how well you sound. I like it because of the quality of the sound on the show and on the recording for the podcast. Yes, this is being recorded for a podcast. We're not going to lose all this fun. But Skype, it works out really nice. So if you want to call on Skype, just call xjtalk.com. And if you ask me how you do that, I don't know, because I haven't made that many calls. I wonder if I should call Stefan back on Skype. He's still in here? He's still in here. Stefan, call me back on Skype. It's open now. Thank you. Skype, add contact. Skype. You know, I don't think Stefan actually added me as a contact. I can't call him. It's offline. He's offline. And what Terrell said earlier about hearing the show, when you do call in either on the phone or Skype, there's going to be a long delay between what you hear on the UStream broadcast and what you hear on the phone. So you do want to turn the volume down on the UStream broadcast, because it will be like a major echo of a few seconds. That song, there is a program, a free program called iRate Radio. Little I, capital R, capital A, capital T, capital E, radio. And I was digging around looking for non-copyrighted music, and I ran across this site that was talking about the I was just reading a Facebook thing here. Jenny on Facebook here says, Tony, is that you talking on the show? And I'm just going to say, yes, Jenny, it is. If she's still listening, then she just heard that. Alrighty, what was I saying? Oh, the iRate software. So basically, it's like a player, but it downloads the songs. iRate Radio. There's a space between the rate and the radio, though. And basically, it downloads and plays or will play the song for you. But from my understanding, from what I was reading, it's all non-copyrighted music that musicians have just put out there. I'm sure to try to get the right people to hear it. But there's no, from what I can see, you just get whatever they send you, and I just kind of play it every so often while I'm sitting here working on stuff. And no, it's interesting. Terrell says that's how most rave music gets around anyway. So I just sit there and listen to it, and then when I hear something that sounds good, I'll save it off and play it as in the opening. I'm hoping, I don't know if you guys have been on here whenever Trap Dog Tom Rapp is here, but he does some really nice music, and it amazes me how fast he can do it. And he is working on generating a song just for my show. So I'm hoping that that's going to be as wonderful as some of the other ones that I've heard him do. I was just looking here on the playlist. It's not that far past Christmas. Let me dig around here and see if I can't pull up his Christmas cheer song here real quick. And I got a contact request. I've added Karen to my contacts on Skype. And let me see if I can get this Christmas cheer song up here real quick. Sorry guys, not looking at the chat room as much as I need to. I think I need to get a little more practice so I can do this without thinking as much. Thinking is not my strong point. And okay, there's Christmas cheer. All right, I'm going to play this Tom Rapp song, and this is a free song, and I don't mean a free download. This is a free song that you can get put it on your MP3 player, burn it to a CD, whatever. It's really a catchy Christmas song. But you can download this at www.tomrapshow.com. And let's see, I think, yep, I got the graphic right here. The Tom Rap, it's not a good graphic, but it was thrown together at the last minute. But it's www.tomrap with 2 P's show.com. And here we go, Christmas Cheer by Tom Rapp.
Christmas is my favorite time of year. Christmas is my favorite time of year. Everybody knows when it is near. Children yells and jingle bells, give me something no one sells, and fill that cup on up with Christmas cheer. Christmas is the time to celebrate. Throw some more of that turkey on my plate. Don't sit home, don't be alone. Call some friends up on the phone and fill that cup on up with Christmas cheer. I know what I'm gonna go and ask Santa for. I'm gonna get a present just for me. She's cuddly and she's sweet, a girl that I adore. Just put a gorgeous doll under my tree. Christmas is the time to celebrate. Throw some more of that turkey on my plate. Remember that you're not alone. Read some letters from back home and fill that cup on up with Christmas cheer. So I can have my darling here with me. Christmas is my favorite time of year. Everybody knows when it is near. Children yells and jingle bells, give me something no one sells, and fill that cup on up with Christmas cheer. And fill that cup on up with Christmas cheer.
This segment brought to you by DetoursUSA.com. 10 years of innovating, not imitating XJ products. Check out www.DetoursUSA.com. And Detours next to remind everyone to practice safe sex. No pig borking till you wrap that rascal. Did you know that xjtalk.com is on Facebook? Just go to facebook.com/xjtalk and friend us. We're also on Twitter, twitter.com/xjtalk. Okay, I worked on those last night, and I wanted to try playing them on the air, and what better time to do it than an impromptu show where you have impromptu results. Let's see. Stefan says, is there a way I can post a docx document on the forum? I actually can go in and set the attachments that are allowed in the posts, and I'm pretty sure docx is not in there. Isn't that like the latest version of Word or something? Isn't it what it uses? Anyway, I can place that in the attachments, but before I do, PDF would probably be good. What I could do is I could just go and see what the potential security threats are that are associated with the docx, and then if that looks cool, I could stick it in there. I think there is some security issues with the PDF file as well, but I think that one's already available. I can look later if I'm playing a song, or certainly after the show. You can just remind me on the site through PM or whatever. I think everybody knows that my member name on xjtalk.com is Mutteroy, but if you don't, now you do, Mutteroy. So just send me a private message. That's what PM stands for. And if you're a member, if you're not a member, join xjtalk.com, then send me a PM. All right. Let's see. Okay, I saw that one. Let's see if there's another one. Okay, Terrell put the website up. What's that? DamyUautocorrect.com. Is that right? DAMN, as in damn, the bad word. Hey, speaking of bad words.
I just wanted to say XJ Talk is the best site in the world. And if you think you know of a better site, you. By the way, this is Big Jim 350. Bye.
I like the bye, too. He's saying bye like he's going to go get in the car. I'm sorry. He's going to go get in the Jeep and come to your house. The beep is not too good? What's wrong with the beep?
This is Big Jim 350, and I love xjtalk.com.
It beeps it out. Do we need a bigger beep in there? Jim, I was tickled to get that voicemail. I was laughing. I had to run downstairs and tell my wife. You know, I said, somebody call in a voicemail with some colorful language so I can bleep it out, because I think it will sound funny. And you did it, man. You didn't just do it with one voicemail. You did it with two. It was great. You know, I cannot use those if you don't want me to, Jim. The reason I'm saying that because Jim said in the chat that voicemail is gonna haunt me forever. Yeah, there's a party going on in the chat room. If you're listening to the this impromptu New Year's Eve xjtalk.com talk show, then you're missing the fun in the chat room. All right, as the scrolling banner on the screen says, both lines are open. I know you guys, especially you guys that are drinking, like Jim was the other night, have loads of things to talk about. And the nice thing is that this isn't regulated by the FCC, at least not yet. and I have no way of beeping you. So hey, call in and let it fly. If you get too colorful, I'll call you a driver. They can take you off the phone. Let's see, Blue Dragon has gotten in here. That's good. You weren't sleeping this time. He said he missed Wednesday's show because sleep was more important to him at the time. Well, yeah, Blue Dragon, this was an impromptu thing. I just, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, everybody in the house just left about 30 minutes to an hour ago to go to a family New Year's Eve party. It happens every year. Strangely, same date every year. And they all went. I don't like going. It's too loud. I get extremely bored. People come by and ask me if I'm feeling okay. I just don't go. It's nice seeing the relatives, but, you know, I just get really bored. So I was sitting here working on some graphics for XJ Talk, and I got frustrated with it, and it was either go play an online video game or use some of this nice equipment that I just recently bought and got all hooked up. So I thought I would put together a impromptu. I've said that enough times now. I'm starting to say it right. I thought I would put together the show and have some people call in, which nobody's calling in. The only time people were calling in is when both Skype and the phone were busy. That's a hint to call in. Jim says I'm on a mini vacation. I don't know what that means, Jim. That must mean a one-day off vacation. Vacation with a mini bar. That makes sense. I'd call, but I'm a chicken. I don't blame you. Well, you know, the nice thing is if you get too scared, you can just hang up. If you're calling through Skype, if you get scared, you can actually just power off the computer or reboot it. That'll take care of it for the next, 5 or 10 minutes. Dalton says, hell, if my redneck butt can do it, y'all can. So, Jim, how did you get back on? Did you steal away to a room with better internet connectivity? Because I think Jim is at a family party right now. He's supposed to be mingling and talking with relatives. Instead, he's here in the chat watching the show. I mean, it sounds like a fun party to me. Yeah, I keep forgetting your real name, Blue Dragon. It's James. I forgot about that. I'm addicted to xjtalk too, but I think my addiction is more of, what are you on, Jim? Are you using somebody else's computer? Anyway, my addiction to xjtalk is creating something to bring people together and allow them to have the freedom to speak their mind and ask questions and learn stuff. So that's what I've really been tickled about this whole thing. I mean, yeah, it's fun too. I like reading the post and I like making the smart comments and so on and so forth. But it's just, I'm very, very proud that something that I started has, grown, and it'll be 2 years in March. I've just been very proud that this thing has grown the way it has and brought in so many really good, knowledgeable people that, get in there and cut up, ask questions. It's just fun. I mean, how much better can life be? You actually create something that's fun. It's like my girls and my boys. Having them, it was just wonderful because they're not only are they good kids, they're friends and they're fun to be around. Just reading the chat room. Oh, I guess I can do the picture in the picture. I don't know why that thing keeps going over there like that. There we go. And I found I can actually make that smaller. I might want to do that. Let's see, we've got 2 guests in here, and let me jump back over here to Facebook. Well, it said I had a message, and that's the same one that I saw before. And I must not have hit send a while ago. Just typing back to Jenny here. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I apologize, Jenny, because I'm from Texas. We do good just to read. I love Texas, by the way. Which one, Terrell? Terrell says that was me on Facebook. The xjtalk Facebook or Tony Muckelroy Facebook? Oh, the friends request. Let's see. Jenny says she is trying to sign in first. So, Jenny is a nice lady that I met on a blog talk radio type show run by Olivia Wilder, and she is one of the people that comes in and listens to Olivia when Olivia does her interviews and stuff with various famous people. I don't know if you guys remember Gil Gerard from Buck Rogers, the 25th Century, a 80s. Would it be called a sitcom? I guess it's not really a comedy, but it was a weekly show. Anyway, she had Gil Gerard on last week, I believe it was, and that was pretty cool. I don't think Gil Gerard was necessarily a stupendously famous individual, but I enjoyed him. I enjoyed the cheesy thing, the cheesy Buck Rogers deal. Let me try this. Let me see if we got a call from me here. Hello? Anybody there? Well, it says connected, but I don't hear anything. Well, I don't guess they wanted to talk. Was that you, James? I had to hit a few buttons there real quick because I didn't, I had it on mute, I had that line on mute, and also too, I had to go run and grab the other cordless phone because somebody didn't put the other phone in the charger. So, well, try it again, James. I don't know, maybe I think it said cell phone, so maybe you're in a bad spot. The nice thing about cell phone, since the cell phones operate at microwave frequencies, you don't have to, they can get in, you can kind of get into a null area where the signal is reflecting off of items yourself, things in the wall, anything with water in it a lot. It will reflect microwave signals a lot. And the neat thing about the signal is the wave or microwave, the wavelength is so short that null can come and go just by moving an inch or 2 inches. And basically what you're doing is you're getting all these reflections coming from everything else that has water or even any dampness in the air. And if you just move a couple inches, you can actually get that null pattern back. And I don't want to go into a deep detailed explanation, but basically the reflected signal comes back and wipes out the signal that's going out. So it basically gives you it's like having no signal coming out at all. It does the same thing in audio signals. So anyway, you can actually just move a little bit with a cell phone and your reception will change. Hey, Punisher has joined us. Punisher just got his XJ Talk business cards. I tell you what, for $10, $10 for 500 cards, those are some pretty cards. And I went ahead and stuck on the Punisher logo on his cards next to his name, and I was a little concerned that the business card company might say that's a no-no, but they printed them and he has them, so if it is a no-no, too bad now. Hey Tony, you getting a beer on mic? Oh, on mine. Well, I could. I went with the Punisher logo. I went ahead and put that on there because it's very, very simple and it's really, really small. I don't know if you saw the picture that the picture of the business card that Punisher put up, but it's a really small little logo, so it worked out well on the card. And I don't know if a detailed picture of a bear would look very well. So Terrell says, XJ Terrell says, advanced auto coupon for 40% off runs out tonight. I've already bought a boatload of stuff on discounts. Are you going to be reselling those on eBay? You think, are they open till midnight, Terrell? Oh, I see what you're saying. You mean online. Stupid me. I'm thinking that you got to go to the store and say, hey, give me my coupon. All right, so he says, XJ Terrell says, online on Advanced Auto, you can go online and get 40% off. I don't know if that's everything in the store, but you can get 40% off, and it's coupon LC123. So L is in Lima, C is in Charlie, and the numbers 1, 2, 3. Okay, so XJ Terrell also says he pays online, and by the time I get to the store, it's ready, pulled off the shelf. Online stuff only. But don't they sell everything online? Well, I don't know. Big Jim says, even with 40% off, I can't afford it. I throw used stuff on mine. It's not a bad deal, Jim. I just hope you're not taking them off other people's vehicles. So let's see. I think we've been on long enough. It doesn't matter. I can have a short segment. Here's another one of our advertisers.
This segment is brought to you by Ironman 4x4, the toughest, most adjustable control arms in the industry. Ironman 4x4 has a wide variety of rugged off-road suspension products that are overbuilt and underpriced. Visit Ironman4x4fab.com today. That's Ironman4x4fab.com. xjtalk.com.
xjtalk.com.
It's where you go when you're not off-road.
Hey, I just wanted to tell you about xjtalk.com. It's a great site. There's no bashing. Everybody's nice and friendly. Great place to be.
This is Brian XJ, just calling in to tell you that we really like the website, full of a lot of tech and a lot of good people. I always get a response back quickly. Thanks, have a good day. This is Big Jim 350, and I love xjtalk.com.
That's great. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of emotion in that voicemail, You listen, I love Steve's 4.3 LXJ's promo. It's good, it's concise, it's to the point, but it doesn't have the range of emotion that Big Jim 350's message had. And I think that's what we all appreciate about it. But vodka, it's the vodka talking for Jim. Hey, Jim, do you put anything else in that vodka? I mean, besides your tongue? Is Jim in there? Yeah, Jim's still there. Fish hook in his hat. XJ Terrell says, you've never seen Big Jim, but you'd know he's got a gut and a fish hook in his hat. I tell you what, Big Jim is good people. We were having the Jeep XJ Talk Jeep meet and greet here in Houston, and the first one that we had at a Sonic Drive-In, and the first one we had, I think we had about 20-something people and about 10 to 12 vehicles, And I was amazed. I could not believe that many people would show up. And then the next one, we had, 7 or 8 vehicles. And then I think we didn't do it for a month or so because it was just really, really hot during the summer months. And the mosquitoes were really bad. So I went ahead and scheduled up another one for, I think it was September when we went out there. And it was me, Big Jim, and Scott, XJ4IV. And the next month, it was me, Big Jim, XJ4IV. So, I don't know. I guess people didn't like what they saw, or there just wasn't enough interesting things going on. I loved it because, frankly, I've only ever seen, before the Jeep Cherokee that I have now, I've never seen one up close. I've seen them on the road, so on and so forth, but I had never seen anything else. I see them online. I just don't see them in person. So it was great to see what other people do to their Jeeps and what, happens to them, like when they go off-road. Reenie's was really fun to look at because he was always doing something to his that I, if nothing else, I'd look at it and say, boy, I'm glad I didn't do that to mine. Okay, in case you guys haven't read and don't remember me complaining about this earlier, we are taking calls live, and the number is at the top of the screen. And you can also call in via Skype. My Skype name, or I don't know, contact name is xjtalk.com. And they're both open and have been for a while. I think James tried a while ago, but I haven't seen anything from anybody else. And I'm just waiting for the number to come around. If for some reason you can't read what's on the screen, you can call 530-675-4102. 530-675-4102. If for some reason you do not have the ability to call that number without it being long distance, I can call you. If you don't mind giving me your phone number in the chat room, just type it in and I'll call you. I have nationwide, what do you call it? It's not free. I got to pay for it. Well, that's what they call it, is free. But anyway, I got nationwide free calling, so I can call you. Unlimited. Yeah, I guess so. I guess it would be unlimited. Well, James says no landline, only my cell. Way easier that way. I tried to talk my wife into no landline. I didn't really see much sense in it. We have the internet, and I never talk on the phone, so what do I care? I mean, other than the $30 a month we were paying for it. But no, she didn't want to lose the number. She didn't want. I said, I can transfer that number to your cell phone. No, I like having a house phone. Blah 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 blah. So we still have a landline, and actually, it's good. If for no other reason, doing what I'm doing tonight. Well, what's pretty cool, and I'll go ahead and share this with you guys since XJ Terrell mentioned this. He says, I got rid of landline 2 years ago. All you get is telemarketers. Actually, I'll share two things. I'm currently working at HP, but prior to working at HP, I worked at Arbitron Radio Ratings. And Arbitron calls you on the phone. It's like a telemarketer thing, but it's a research. So research companies do not have to abide by the do not call list because it's research. They're not calling you to sell you anything. They're calling to find out what radio stations you listen to. So they can put together a quarterly report and sell it to the radio stations for an ungodly amount of money. I don't know how much it is, but it is the second biggest budget item at a radio station. Let me repeat that. Buying that report, that ratings report from Arbitron, is the second most expensive thing they have to budget for at a radio station. That's a bunch of money. And of course, that's why you hear people come and go. The radio personalities, they'll be there for a little while, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And that's because they didn't do well in the ratings. So anyway, Arbitron and other research organizations do not have to abide by the do not call list. Now, if one of the people at the call centers called you from Arbitron and you said, please put me on your do not call list, they would mark the record and then you would be taken off. That was just them being nice out of the kindness of their heart. They just didn't want any bad publicity from anyone. But basically what they did, I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but what they did, they would send out a booklet, and you'd fill out that booklet as far as what you read, and then you would send it back in to them. And once they got that booklet, they would take the information, they would tabulate it all into a report, and they would send you some money for it. And it varied depending on what area of the country you were in, because some areas of the country, the population isn't as big as others, and it's more important to get that information from those areas. So they would actually pay more. And it wasn't, it was like $1, maybe $5, so on and so forth. Well, one of the things they started doing before I left there, they started calling cell phones, doing the same thing. They wanted to talk you into doing the survey. And they would try to get the information, get your mailing information and so on and so forth, so they could send out one of these booklets. And the reason why they could call you on the cell phone, or the way they could call you on the cell phone, was if they didn't call you through an automated dialing machine, they would have to call you manually. And if they called you manually, then it was okay to call you on your cell phone. So they were actually getting cell phone numbers from cell companies so they could call and try to get you to do a survey. Now, mind you, this is the lifeblood for this company. And with the changing communications, how we're doing text and many people going to cell phone onlys, they needed to come up with a way to make these calls so they could continue doing business. Now, just so you'll know, and it may not be a big deal to you, they actually were calling you through an automatic dialer. But the manual part of the process was pressing enter on the keyboard. So the person that would be trying to call you, one of the God, I can't remember what they're called now. One of the people that took the surveys over the phone, they would sit there and a number would come up on their screen, and then they would hit enter, and then it would call you. If that was your number, it would call your cell phone, and then they would tell you who they were and why they were calling, and ask you a few questions and try to get you to accept one of these booklets to fill out. Now, Arbitron had been working on some technology that really, I consider it 1980s technology, but they were working on this technology so that they wouldn't have to have these people call you on your phone, whether it be landline or cell phone. They would have you wear this little device that looked like a pager. Yes, a pager. And basically what this pager would do was it would listen. So if there was a signal embedded on the radio station that you were listening to, the pager would pick that up, and it would make note of what the frequency was, what the time of day was, how long that it heard that signal. Also, whenever you go into a store like Walmart or so on and so forth, whatever store that was willing to buy this service from Arbitron, they would, on the overhead speakers, though, where they were playing music and stuff, they had this inaudible signal embedded in that system, that audio system. And that little pager, or it looks like a pager, would pick that up. So the pager wouldn't be able to tell if you were paying attention to the ads or the radio station, but it kept track of what you were hearing and when you were hearing it. And then at night, you would take that pager off and stick it in its charger, which was connected to the phone line, and that would call Arbitron and transfer all the information. That isn't a bad idea. And in fact, if you remember I think it's Steven Spielberg movie, The Minority Report, they did the same thing, except in that movie, they used scanners that scanned the eyes, and that's why Tom Cruise had to have his eyes removed and other eyes put in, because they would actually scan your eyes and then target marketing straight to you. And that's the kind of level of information that Arbitron is gathering now, and actually has been for 3 or 4 years. So anyway, that comment about the telemarketers not calling you on your cell phone is only partially true. Yes, the eyes did look like testicles in the bag. However, I think that might be an issue for some women if testicles had, pupils. I think that might be a bit distracting. What? What? You don't scratch your back, Wayne? Wayne's making his own jokes over there. Wayne is already in the future. It is already 2011 and has been for quite a while. What time is it over there, Wayne? Wayne is in New Zealand. That is CanTab 27. He was on here earlier. And Wayne, you should have stayed on. There's nobody else calling in. So it's 5 p.m. Saturday, January the 1st, 2011 or 2011. That's pretty cool. Do you get any shows from the United States over there, Wayne? The Quaker State. No, it's the Quaker State. That's a motor oil, Wayne. What all do you have in the stew, Terrell? I'm sure you've got meat, but what else? Carrots, celery. I'd like to have some stew right now. I had a sandwich a while ago. Taters, carrots, broccoli. No, we don't put broccoli in our stew. Nothing wrong with it, but we just don't put that in there. Ooh, lima beans. Don't think I'd have lima beans in there. I'm gassy enough. Of course, the broccoli. Wow. You must be running your own power plant over there, Terrell. Oh, hell, call. I thought that was very interesting. Jeep people. Steph, you need to go down there and give her some support. Yeah, bay leaves. Yeah, we do bay leaves, oregano. Yeah, that's some good stuff. I bet you that does smell good. What time is it over there, Terrell? That's pretty late. I mean, it's 10 p.m. here. Are you cooking that for tonight? Yeah, I think the report would be very interesting. In fact, I was going to I got the cables in for my Skype connection 2 days ago, and I was actually going to try giving you a call and doing that. Okay, here's Karen calling in now. Let's see, is everything on? Karen, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for being brave and calling in.
It took a lot.
You guys can't see Karen's picture, but she has a very happy picture. It's leaning to the side. I don't know. Are you leaning to the right or the left there, Karen?
That would be the left.
That's a political question.
The right side.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for participating in my survey that I did a month ago. My professor was quite pleased with my paper, and I got an A in the class. And that's very much thanks to all of you.
It's been a while since we read the post. Why don't you tell everybody listening what it was that you were doing and the results and basically what you were looking for and what you found.
Okay, well, I'm a psychology student at Utah State University, and my minor is in sociology. So what makes people tick and think and work together is something that I'm totally interested in. And actually, with an English folklore class this last semester, I had to do a research project on a group of people that exist in community on the internet and what makes them tick and what makes them a group that gets along with each other and stays cohesive. And I fretted and fretted over what I was going to do my paper on, and after leaning over my husband's shoulder and listening to him laugh and bust out hysterically, I thought, well, hey, I'll look into the Jeeps. And just so you all know, I owned a Jeep before I met him.
Oh, okay.
Long time ago.
So this wasn't like getting the wife interested in Star Wars or UFO theories or anything like that. This was something you were already into before.
Yes. My parents owned a Jeep when I was younger, and I had a Jeep several years ago. It actually saved my kids' lives in a car accident about 6 years ago. And so we've been quite enthusiastic over Jeeps for quite some time.
Right. That's excellent.
Yeah, it was the unibody in my Jeep Cherokee limited edition 99 that saved my kids' lives. So
well, if you don't mind going into it, what happened?
We were coming up to a stoplight, and I got rear-ended at 50 miles an hour. I was at a standstill, got hit at 50.
Right.
And it accordion crunched the back end of the Jeep up into the rear axle. And then, because of the body, it didn't go any further. And the state trooper that came said, if we'd have been in any other vehicle, my kids would have all died because of the impact.
Was it a drunk driver or?
No, it was actually a 16-year-old girl who was late for work and was speeding on the highway.
What was she driving?
She was driving a small car,
Thank goodness.
just a small car, and we were actually the center vehicle in a 4-car pileup, and my Jeep ended up in the back of a Chevy S10, and it took 3 tow trucks to pull the 3 cars apart. So that's how bad the impact was. I have pictures somewhere.
Oh, you should put those up. That would be very interesting. I hate to see a good Jeep Cherokee down, but if it saves your life, and I think that happens more often than not, that's wonderful. I mean, if a Jeep can give its life saving its master, all the better.
It definitely saved some lives that day. So actually, my youngest son was sitting in the middle, center seat belt in the back seat. And the impact was so hard, it flung the seatbelt. They're just a tension strap. It slung open. The buckle stayed buckled, but it just broke the tension bar in it. And he flipped backwards over the seat and was shoulder to shoulder with the back seat and the rear window because it had crunched in so far. So it was a pretty nasty accident.
How long ago was this?
Oh, 2004.
Yeah, it amazes me that, I remember back when I was 16 and first started driving, and the insurance was just horrendous for the male and not so much for the female. And I'm just really surprised that a female 16-year-old driver ran into the back of you like that. I would have expected a drunk driver or a young male driver.
Yeah, it was just a young girl who was being stupid, but it definitely very fond of the Jeep because of that. So, and then, when a state trooper says, if it had been any other vehicle, you would not have survived, it definitely means something.
Well, unfortunately, they see that all too often, so he probably has a pretty good estimate on what the damage would have been otherwise. I'm sorry, I got you off your track on your...
That's quite all right. So the paper that I was writing, I wanted to show that in a normal face-to-face group, the group elders are typically the older generation in age-wise. And in internet-founded groups, the group elders aren't always the ones who have age on everybody else. They're ones who have experience, and that experience can be gained at a much younger age that puts them as a group elder. And in my study, what I found was that the age ranges of members who utilize the website tend to be very young, in the 25 to 35 range, and then much older in the 55 plus age range. And it's I'm pulling my paper up right now.
Oh, take your time. This is very impromptu, and don't worry about it. I mean, if I can get on here and say every 3.5 seconds, don't just take your time and breathe and say, I got to take a break. That's fine. I always have music I can play.
There you go. Well, on the survey, the 4 members are very much a masculine group. I had 84 respondents, and 80 of them were male, with 3 females and 1 who preferred not to answer. In the age ranges, the majority of forum members are in the 18 to 25 age range. And then it drops off slightly to the 35, 36, and then it peaks again in the 40, 45 to 50 plus age range. And what I wanted to show was that the younger group members are there not just seeking advice from the older group members, but are also there to give advice, because there's a break in the age ranges because people have their daily driver Jeeps. And then when they get into their prime, their 30s to 40s, they tend to go away from it. They're raising their families. They don't have the time. They don't have the money. And then when they hit their 45, 50, their golden years, they're coming back to get into their Jeeps. And so they're coming back and they're asking for mechanical advice. They're asking for group get-togethers, a social outlet. And this survey proved very much that that's the makeup of the group. When you look at the household incomes of group members, it's a U shape on a graph where most of them are 35,000 and less, and then there's a dropout of middle income people, and then all all of a sudden there's a huge burst of $75,000 a year plus income. And that kind of coincides with the age ranges of the members being primarily young and primarily older adults.
That's really interesting. I had, I'm sorry, I had some suspicions that we had quite a few what I would consider to be older members. Ever so often I'd see a birthday, come up, automatic message would go out saying happy birthday so-and-so, and most people would allow their ages to be shown. And I was quite surprised to see how many members were in their late 30s, 40s, and even 50s. So I had expected whenever I got back into off-road, when I first started getting off-road stuff, I was in my early 20s. And then what you said about raising the family and stuff happened. And I probably still wouldn't be into it, but we had a hurricane threaten us here on the Gulf Coast, and I thought it was kind of silly to have a Jeep and not have it capable to get the family out of harm's way. And it was
Right.
and it was a good excuse. Let's be realistic about it. So I was really shocked to see how many of the older, more mature individuals were doing the Jeeps, and I was surprised how many women are into it.
I was quite surprised too when I was poking around at how many women there are actually Jeep drivers, and not spouses or ride-alongs, but actual enthusiastic Jeep owners.
Right.
They're primarily Wrangler drivers, though.
Sure. Well, they can say they drive around topless and, giggle. Of all of the forums and websites that I surveyed, 70% or more, actually about 80% of drivers are Cherokee drivers, and only about 3% are Grand Cherokee drivers, with about 15% being Wrangler drivers. So, and that was something that I found to be really interesting too in the study, was where the Cherokees really stopped manufacturing the late 90s, mid 90s, and moved to the Grand Cherokee. So many drivers out there are so dedicated to the Cherokee model. Actually, 2001 was the last year for the Jeep Cherokee.
Was it 2001? Yeah, and I thought that was pretty interesting, considering that.
Well, you do know about the price difference between the Wranglers and the Cherokees. Yeah. And
definitely.
I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I would much rather, even though I love my Jeep Cherokee, and actually mine was bought brand new, I would much rather buy a $1,000 Jeep Cherokee and roll it out on the trail than take a $15,000 used Wrangler and do the same thing with it.
Right. And that actually was another theory of mine, was that the Cherokee drivers are primarily young, and those who are returning after raising their families. And for young families or young drivers, a Cherokee is a lot less expensive to get together than it would be to go and buy a brand new one.
Exactly.
And then for, like, in our situation, we have a son that's approaching 15, and that was our excuse.
Yeah.
Although my husband will be typing right now saying it's not for him. But that was definitely one of the excuses, was, well, we can buy this for, less than $1,000 and get it running, and we have a toy.
Right.
So that's part of the draw to have still so many Cherokee drivers out there, is because so many of them there's so many available because they were so popular that you can purchase them and fix them for half the price of buying a brand new one.
Oh yeah. I think that there was almost 3 million of them manufactured between 1984 and 2001. James was actually just talking about the best year Jeep, and from the research that I've done, the 1999 model was the best one. It had all the latest modifications for fuel economy. It also did not have the engine head that was prone to cracking. The 2000 and 2001s had a problem with the head cracking, I think due to the massive amount of heat that is created under the hood. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them out there. I was talking to my mechanic one time a few years ago, and I said, I don't know how smart it is, me putting all this time and effort into my Cherokee, because they stopped making them in 2001. And he said, Well, keep in mind, there's a lot of government agencies, Forest Service and so on and so forth, that bought Cherokees. So there's going to be a lot of Jeep Cherokee parts for a very, very long time.
Right. Well, and that was another thing, back to the folklore aspect of my paper, because that was the technical focus. Having so many of them available, and now there's all of these companies, your advertisers, that have popped up that support the Cherokee. It's not going away for a very long time. There's performance parts that are available and everything. It's not going away. And that's one of the elements of becoming a folklore for the Cherokee, is that it's so widespread and uniformly known that it's become its own entity. And actually, one of the questions on my survey was what year your Jeep was, and I'm just pulling that up because I found that to be rather interesting too.
It seems like there's a lot of pre-1997 Jeep owners. It was just based on my mental collection of information from what I read on the site. There seems to be fewer 97 plus. There was a body style change in 97.
Right. And in the research that I did, the most common year was around 87 to 89, and then it peaked again around 93 to 94 in that time frame.
Right.
And then there's another group of 99 drivers.
Right.
But it's very clustered around specific years.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. There's probably a spurt as far as either how many they built or what the vehicles are worth.
Right. Another question that I wanted to know was whether they were 4x4 drivers or just whatever Jeep was available at the time. Because my 99 Jeep that saved us in our crash was not a 4x4, but 81% of drivers have 4x4s.
Right.
Actually, it's more than 84. It's about 97%. I'm looking at a different format here. Another thing that was interesting on the whole U shape of the demographic makeup, 47% of drivers have had more than one Jeep before, and 15% currently own more than one Jeep, and 37% it's their first Jeep. So that shows that drivers are dedicated to their Jeeps. They drive them and they will own them forever.
Excellent. Jim was just saying that he doesn't like to wheel an OBD2 Jeep. I guess it would be engine communication sensor system. So I don't know. That would be the 96 on, I believe, was when they came up with OBD2. So it sounds like the Jeep information that you collected was something that you didn't expect to find. Did you have any preconceived notions going into the when you were collecting the information?
I had some preconceived notions because obviously I'm familiar with the Jeep because I had one and we currently have one, and my husband's been in the forums for almost a year now. So I had some preconceived notions, and for the most part, they pretty much were dead on.
Oh, good.
Which is good. That's what I wanted to show, was that there's definitely an element of community. One other really interesting thing was how people became involved with the forum, and the majority of Jeep drivers out there actually found their forums through internet searches, and with almost 97% finding them through internet searches. But over half of them have already met up with people that they've met on the forums for trail rides and Jeep rallies, like you guys were talking about earlier. And
that's interesting. I would have thought it would have been
on one end of the U and the younger age group on the other, to have so many members having already met each other and continuing to foster those in-person relationships with people that they've met on the forums.
It sounds like there's a lot of people wheeling together and not talking about what website they visit.
Well, in my paper, I have a list of the forums that I surveyed, and I can tell you really quick that XJTalk is one of the highly frequented websites.
Oh, really?
So,
I was expecting to hear bad news. There's some very good websites out there.
It's not the highest, but at least 32% of the 80 people that I surveyed do frequent XJTalk.
That's great. That's great to hear.
So, and obviously everybody got to visit my survey, so there's a little advertisement in there too.
Oh, sure. No problem. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. The first time I saw the survey, I was looking at this going, now this looks like a market research study for somebody that's going to start up a Jeep website.
Well, no, it was honest to goodness for research related to university studies.
Oh, that's just me. And the way I look at it, and I've always said this, if somebody has a better Jeep website than me, then I'm not doing it right. And people should go to the other site until I learn how to do it the right way. So that's the way I looked at it, and that's why I went ahead and did the survey.
Well, I thank you very much, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. And I just want to say another big thank you to everybody for helping me. And I'll get Stefan to post a PDF of the paper if you're interested in the nitty gritty about communities and folklore.
Well, I know I would be, and I'll be happy to work with him to get that up on the site. There's other ways of getting the information up than just putting it in a post. I can actually put a page unto itself, and we can do standard HTML, a standard HTML document, or even a PDF that's embedded into the HTML. So, Steph, just work with me, and you can actually send me, if you want to send me the docx or the PDF to Tony at xjtalk.com, TONY at xjtalk.com. I'll work to get that up.
That'll be great. There's a lot of jokes and pictures in the paper and the appendixes that are pretty neat and very Jeep specific.
Oh, cool. So it's not going to be just a black and white type thing.
Oh, no. It's a 30-page paper, but 13 pages or so are jokes.
Wow, that's great. So what this is, where in your degree are you?
I just became a senior 2 weeks ago.
Wow, so you're getting close.
Getting close.
And you're getting to pick on all the freshmen now.
There you go.
Karen, thank you very much for calling in. You're more than welcome to stay on, but I know it can be kind of stressful, especially when you're doing this for the first time. So, but if you would like to get off, that's not a problem. Thank you very much, and thank you to Steph for probably encouraging you to do this.
Yes, he did very much. Blue Dragon, how does that make you feel? That is definitely my question. I don't know how many of you know what Stefan does, but he does brain surgery on rats. So the joke in the family is he will do their surgery treatment, and then I'll ask them how they felt about that when they're done.
Well, I don't know. I'm glad XJ Rat's not on in the chat room tonight. He might be offended. So maybe I need to get Steph on here. I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd, and when I hear about brain surgery on rats, I know that's got to be testing because I don't think the Obama healthcare package is for rats. So he's got to be doing something in the form of trying to figure something new and special out. It's not. I wouldn't think that it would be a cyber implant. Okay, I'll just wait and maybe I can talk Steph into talking about it. Nobody else will probably care, but I like that type of stuff.
Well, unless there's any questions for me, I'm going to sign on out.
You guys got any questions for Karen? Start asking. The clock is ticking. The last thing I see is robo-rats. And I bet you don't want any questions from Steph. I don't see any. I think we stunned them. They didn't know questions were coming up.
There you go.
But Karen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. And I hope you have you and Steph and your 15-year-old who lost his Jeep to Steph and you. I hope you all have a very happy New Year.
You too. Thanks.
Well, that was a very interesting call. I thought that was very interesting. And, of course, you know, from the running of the website aspect, it was all very good information, like I was saying, from the market research standpoint. And the thing that we're doing with, and when I say we, it's you guys buying the business cards and me doing the design and having them shipped to you. But it's very interesting to hear that the thing that we're doing with the XJ Talk business cards is actually potentially filling a gap that Karen found in her study. Because she said, I think I heard this right, she said that a lot of the members online knew each other on the trails, or knew each other prior to being on the website. And they found the website through internet searches. So you guys aren't talking about what websites you go to. I mean, according to her survey, and according to the answers that we're giving to the survey. And we can only assume that everybody was honest about that. Sometimes I think it's easier to maybe not think about it, but click on the answer and move on so you can get done. Let's see. Terrell says, I found the website through meeting Pops98XJ. Oh, yeah. Didn't he meet you in a parking lot and tell you about the site, if I remember the post properly? Okay. Yeah, Terrell says, yeah. Yeah, that's great. I was happy to hear that. Pops doesn't post that often, and Finney, XJ, I see him on from time to time, but I don't see him on that often. So I was really happy to hear that Pops98 thought enough of the site to be telling people to stop somebody in a parking lot and say, hey, nice Jeep, and this is the site you need to go to. Of course, I'm assuming that he told you one site and not three, and you just happened to go to one of the 3 or 4 that he told you about. I know the first Jeep site that I went to, I was having a strange noise in the front end, and I went over. I was trying to find something online, not knowing anything about any websites for Jeep Cherokees. I was just trying to find something specific for the Jeep Cherokee, and I found naxja.org. Nadja? I never can pronounce that. I don't even try. Actually, I just did, so I'm lying. At any rate, I went over there, and I bet you I probably saved $400, $500, $600 based on the help that I got from those people. And I would say about 99% of the people over there on that site are great. They're more than happy to help you. And then there's a few that are just, and they just want to tell you, why didn't you search? Are you really that stupid? And man, that just rubs me the wrong way. I was pretty lucky. That really didn't happen to me, and when it did, I made my feelings known about it in I think a mature manner, and I got a couple of apologies. I just don't understand why people just don't move along. If they don't like what they're reading, ignore it. Go to a post you do like, or go over to Pirate 4x4. I tell you what, there is some great tech discussions on Pirate. Absolutely, hands down, just a wonderful place to go and see some wild, crazy stuff. But I never go there, and I'll be honest with you guys. I wanted to get to the point on XJ Talk where that's the only place I needed to go to have my Jeep Cherokee fun, to get my Jeep Cherokee fix for the day. And I don't go to the other sites. I just read what you guys read. I just comment on what on your posts, and it keeps me entertained almost 10, 12 hours a day. I'm really happy about that. Yeah, don't post on Pirate. Posting on Pirate, you need to have a flame retardant suit on. Well, I guess so. Terrell says, people think that being assholes is telling it like it is. And I know manly men tell you exactly where it is and where you should put it. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that in a face-to-face environment, but I do have a problem. Excuse me, I do have a problem whenever it is behind the relative safety of your glowing screen 500, 1,000, 1,500 miles away from the person that you're offending. Have the gall to say that to my face. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to hit that face. I'm just saying that whenever you're within arm's reach of somebody saying that, you are saying it with some passion and vigor that you may not, that some people may not do face to face. Keyboard Rangers. Oh, I think Dalton has taken off. Hey, Dalton, thanks for dropping by, and thanks for the call earlier. Have a very happy New Year, and we'll see you on the website.
This is Big Jim 350, and I love xjtalk.com.
Yes, Jim, we all do. Speaking of vigor.
This segment is brought to you by Ironman 4x4, the toughest, most adjustable control arms in the industry. Ironman 4x4 has a wide variety of rugged off-road suspension products that are overbuilt and underpriced. Visit Ironman4x4fab.com today. That's Ironman4x4fab.com.
xjtalk.com.
xjtalk.com.
It's where you go when you're not off-road.
Yeah, the other one is funnier, but I like to play that one a lot. But see, I think I don't know if you caught that on the podcast or if you were listening to the live show last Wednesday, but I went to Mark at Detours and Andy at Ironman 4x4 and a couple of other vendors as well, and asked them. I said, "Hey, I'm got this live show, this podcast thing going on. Would you be interested in having some advertising on there?" And your wife is getting. What's going on? Oh, she wants you off the computer. Okay, Terrell, thanks a lot, and I really appreciate the information on the bolts. I had no idea. It makes perfect sense, but I had no idea about how that worked. So, great information. Have a very happy New Year. So anyway, I got some responses. I got responses back from everybody, but I was trying not to use my words in the advertisement. I mean, this is their business, and I don't want to say something or present their business in such a way that it would be contrary to the way they would want it presented. So I sent Mark a message and I said, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I would like to put an advertisement or two on there. Do you have something that you could give me? Then I thought maybe he had something or he had something in mind, and he gave me about 5 words to use, and I guess that was like Monday or so, and it was getting closer to the Wednesday show, and I think on Wednesday I finally got around to emailing him saying, hey, okay, how's this? And I put those 4 words into 2 sentences, I think. So I kept it short. It wasn't anything. I didn't want to keep any, do a 30-minute show, an infomercial or anything. So I sent it back to him and saying, how's this? And he says, that sounds great. And I said, okay, great. This is what I'll record this and play this on the show. And then later, he sent me a message saying about the safe sex comment, word by word, word for word, that's in the commercial. He sends me that in the email, and I said, great, I'll add that. I hadn't done the recording at that point, and I said, great, I was just getting ready to do the recording. I'll add that. And then I guess an hour or so went by, and he said, like, LOL, I double dog dare you. And my response back to him, because I wanted to make sure that he was serious about this, my response back to him was, oh, there's no daring necessary. I've already done the recording and it's ready to go, which I hadn't done it yet. And I got no response from him, and he had plenty of time to respond back. So after an hour or 2 hours, it was getting close to showtime, so I went ahead to make the recording of that commercial. And I did it, and of course, it just struck me funny that it needed the sound of a squealing pig in it. So literally about 30 minutes before the show was supposed to come on, I just did a quick search for, pig squealing, and I found a very long recording of a baby pig squealing. So I took a section of that and stuck it on the end of the commercial, and I was sitting here like an idiot, laughing at this recording that I had done, listening to it, and I really didn't have time to run around and get the girls or my wife over here to listen to it. I just kind of went with it, but it was something I really enjoyed. Anyway, with that long story, I have to play it now. So here we go.
This segment brought to you by DetoursUSA.com. 10 years of innovating, not imitating XJ products. Check out www.detoursusa.com. And Detours wants to remind everyone to practice safe sex. No pig porking till you wrap that rascal.
So the next day, Mark says that he was having family time with the family, 8 p.m. my time, and he was only able to catch about the last 15 minutes or so of the show, the live show. I think that's what he said. But he played the entire podcast in the shop the next day, and he says the commercial was great. So, I tried to call his bluff. He went for it, and he enjoyed it. So he's got a pretty good sense of humor about things, and I think he would be. He probably would hurt himself business-wise if he did everything that he thinks and says, like if you're talking to him on the phone. He's really funny. Does wonderful work. Both those bumpers I have on my Jeep are just beautiful. Beautiful job. So if you guys, I would seriously consider going with the tailbone or the backbone system. It's a lot cheaper to ship, and you have the looks of the factory stock bumpers, but you still have a winch and you still have recovery points, front and rear, and I don't know, some people like tire carriers, some people don't. To me, it's a must. So you get a tire carrier, so you can carry a full-size spare, which I don't think that they can make a donut big enough to put on a four-wheel drive, the one that was lifted with 32s or 33s. Yeah, the backbone was a beautiful idea. We just got to find a better way to get stuff shipped over to you, Wayne. We need an XJTalk boat so we can just load her up, cruise over there, drop things off, come back, maybe pick up a load of kiwis or something that's, expensive over here, but it's cheap there. All right, well, both phone lines are open. We had a bunch more phone calls than I thought we were going to, and they all seemed to happen at the first part of the show. And now it's been pretty open, pretty lax. So if you guys want to give a call, I would like to talk with you. Taking live calls. Yes, dead calls are not welcome. Zombies have a tendency just to, moan and groan, which could be good, but not on this show. Let's see, taking calls live. Do I need a comma in there? I'll put an @ sign. No, not taking. I see. Talking calls. Jim may wind up being my producer. Then I can about misspellings. Nothing to beep out zombie calls. I think it'd be kind of funny to have a beep thing here, but I'd have to have a delay and all kinds of stuff. It'd be fun to do like what you see on Jimmy Kimmel and stuff, where they beep things that don't need to be bleeped. Some of that stuff, some of the kid stuff is not what I would consider to be good things to beep. Okay, somebody's on the phone. Let's see who it is. Thanks for calling. Oh, they hung up. Who called and hung up? I was going to play the XJ Talk Live phone call. I'm going to play it anyway.
Somebody's calling.
Somebody answer the phone.
It's an XJ Talk Live phone call.
I'm pretty sure it was live. Well, they're not calling back. The number showed up on the caller ID. I could call them back. I'm wondering if that was 4.3 LXJ. This is the number that I've got up here is the voicemail number, and I've just got it forwarded to my home phone. So somebody may have been calling for the voicemail. Let's see. We'll try it again. Anybody there?
Yeah.
Oh, I hear the show in the background. You're going to have to turn that down because it's going to drive you nuts.
Okay, it's down.
So who have we got?
Oh, this is 4.3 XJ.
See, I told you that's what I thought it was.
Well, I got something about Susie's phone or something like that when I called before, and I'm going, I don't think I did that right.
Really?
Yeah.
Just doing some adjustments here. You're a little loud.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm talking too loud.
Now, let me adjust it here, because loud is good for a change. Most everybody is, their audio is down a little bit. So you must be one of the guests here in the chat room.
Yeah, right now. I'm doing a little bit of the chat, but haven't been active for a few minutes in that.
I've been trying to update the viewer list. This is Steve, 4.3 LXJ from xjtalk.com, and Steve is one of our moderators, and Steve is out in California. Steve has a real interesting build. Steve, I think I've told you about this before. I actually need to get you on here and do a nice long interview with you on your Jeep. You've done some pretty interesting things on your Jeep. Very different than what I've seen on the typical Jeep Cherokee build.
Well, nobody can accuse me of thinking inside of the box.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. I mean, of course, I went with what was safe. What could I do that everybody else is doing?
Well, a lot of it is I'm cheap. I just make a lot of my own stuff. If I had to buy it all, I'd still be buying a bumper or something. Yeah,
those bumpers I got were very expensive. Very nice, but I kind of looked at it like, what would it cost me to buy all the stuff, and then where would I put it, and what's the that the first that I make, what's it going to look like? So I'll save that for my second XJ.
Yeah, well, I've been fabricating now for a long, long time, and I used to do some of that kind of stuff for a living as a millwright. So, that's I own the tools, and so might as well.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Plus, you have a nice little place to work, from what I understand.
Yeah, I've got a good-sized shop now. I've had small shops. I've had barns with dirt floors and all kinds of stuff. But right now, I've got a 24 by 40 shop, so I can fit more than one rig in there and work on them.
Oh, that's great. I didn't realize it was that big.
Well, in fact, I've had three. I've had both Mighty Mites in there and then my XJ, so working on it. So it starts getting a little cramped with three of them in there, but still quite doable.
You need to get a webcam set up. Well, that's right. You don't have the high-speed internet, or at least the cheap internet out there. The webcam would be kind of fun to watch.
I've got a webcam on my laptop, but the thing is I'm on a broadband, and it's fairly high speed for a broadband, but I have a limited amount of data that I can use per month.
Right, and you use that for your business as well, don't you?
Yeah, but I don't use much of it for my business.
Okay.
A few emails and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I've got to download some software here as soon as people get back from the New Year's. But other than that, I use it for my business, but, the 99% of it, not quite that much, but at least 90% of it ends up being time that I spend on the forums and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe you were trying to make sure that you had enough time on the internet left so that you can actually make some money for it and not spend it all.
Oh, well, I don't make my money off of the net. I make money off of what I print, and then I mail it. So, FedEx or something.
Right.
So, like I say, I do a lot of stuff with forums. Wife does her stuff with email and this, that, and the other.
It sounds like a pretty nice existence. I guess do you ever get stir crazy being there at the house?
No. I always have plenty to do. I still have projects lined up on the XJ. Have all the parts and everything.
I know.
I need to finish all the stuff I've started.
My wife has a hard time understanding how I can stay in the house or not go someplace, because she's a go someplace kind of person. Although in the last 18 years that we've been together, or 19, if we include the dating, she's gotten more like me. She doesn't like going as much as she used to.
Well, we go places, wife and I do. We like to go someplace for the weekend, or we'll just decide, hey, we're going to go to Sacramento and go shopping, and which is, hour and a half, 2 hours away for us, or we'll go to Reading and go shopping, or whatever, and we'll just spend the day doing that, and then we'll come home, and here we are.
Do you go in the Cherokee, or do you take something else?
No, we take a Subaru. I've got a Subaru XT with a turbo on it, and it's nice to drive in traffic. So,
how do you like it when you're sitting down low, though?
Oh, that's not bad. I'm used to it. I'm brand loyal to Jeep, but I'm also brand loyal to Subarus. We've had a lot of them. So
yeah, they seem to be a good vehicle. Of course, I have a problem with that commercial, Subaru commercial, where they go out and drive through some minimal mud, and then happen upon a parade and get cheers from the crowd. And I would like to add them going through some more aggressive mud, getting stuck, and having a Jeep Cherokee winch them out. And
but of course.
And then the Jeep Cherokee bringing them into town, and then the parade crowd cheering them.
Yeah, there you go.
But well,
I'll tell you, I got impressed one day. I was down at the local swimming hole by my house up in Oregon, and there was this Subaru Brat, early 80s Subaru Brat.
Oh, I think I remember
and this
those.
guy, yeah, you remember them? Just kind of a toy pickup.
Yeah.
Anyway, he had that thing. Stock tires, there was nothing except that it had the 2-speed transfer case in it. So it had a low range of sorts, not like ours, but it was a lower range.
Mm-hmm.
And he was driving that thing out in the water on Round River Rock, doing a donut, coming back in, hitting the shore, getting airborne, down, do another donut, back out in the water. And I thought, man, I'm impressed. Wouldn't do that with my own, but, he did it without any damage. So,
it's really amazing what the vehicles will take. I put a couple of YouTube videos up with I don't know what model Subaru it was, but this guy was going through some aggressive mud. I had a lot more I had a much better feeling about the Subaru all-wheel drive after seeing him go through that mud. I don't think that I would take anything that low to the ground through the ruts he was going through, but he was making it.
Well, you can take it through some ruts, but doesn't have anything for a breakover angle.
Right. Yeah, that was mud. I mean, it certainly wasn't on rocks, but as long as you keep your forward speed up, you should be okay.
Yeah, they do fairly well. And of course, if you put some decent tires on them, they do well. I was, again, up in Oregon. We had an 81 wagon, and the guy called me up and wanted me to bring my truck over and pack the snow down in his driveway. And I didn't want to take my big old power wagon over there, so I took the Subaru over there and did it. I was pushing snow with the bumper and everything, and got his driveway packed down and said, okay, see ya.
Did he complain when you showed up in a small vehicle?
He was shaking his head, and he said, are you sure?
Yeah, I do stuff like that with my wife, where I'll do something that's, she thinks is difficult to do, and I'll show her how easy it was, and I know she wants to hit me, and I kind of get the feeling it's the same thing with this guy. Is like, man, pull out your car and do it your own self.
Really? Well, a lot of people are timid.
Yeah, that's very true. I get timid, but once I experience it, then I'm less so. I guess that's common in most people. Big Jim 350 and Argonard Rini are different in that aspect. They tend to just go for it.
Yeah, I do up to a certain point. I had a CJ5 that I would routinely get airborne in.
Oh my goodness!
I had a Dana 44 front in it, and I was marketing lift kits at the time, and I had lift kits that would be analogous to Ironman Andy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some 15-inch wide tires on, and ag tires, and I'd go out and hit it, and I was a real crowd pleaser on the racetrack. I was always airborne. They loved it.
Well, you had some nice cushions. What kind of air pressure did you run on those 15-inch wide tires?
Depends on where I was at. 8 in the front and 5 in the back on mud, and on sand I was at 5 and 2.5.
My goodness! And I would assume you got airborne no matter what the surface was.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I had tubes in the tires.
Oh. Okay.
And contrary to what a lot of people don't know, everybody assumes that a rim is a rim, but DOT changed the specs on rims somewhere. I don't know. Whenever everybody started losing beads, that's when they changed them. It used to take 40 pounds of air to seat any kind of a tire on any kind of a rim because the safety beads were bigger. And somewhere along the line, they turned the safety beads down a skosh so that they would seat with 10 or 15 pounds of air. And I don't know if that was an OSHA thing or whatever, but the bottom line is that it makes it easier to lose a bead. Back in the old days, back in the day, it was much harder to lose a bead.
Well, let me make sure I understand, because it sounds like to me this is good because you can run lower pressure and still keep a bead.
That is correct.
So lowering it to 10 or 15 is better than when it was at 40.
You mean as far as running a tire?
Yeah, running it at low pressure.
Yeah, well, for off-road purposes, yeah.
Okay.
But nowadays, if you take a regular tubeless tire, as you well know, and you run it at 5 pounds, you are going to unseat the bead on the thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Tire construction has changed, and so has the specs on any of the new safety beads on the rims. Even the stock ones, I think, on the XJs, I think were subject to those new rules. So, if you go below 15 pounds, you can take a bead off.
Right. And
interestingly enough, I read an article in Four Wheeler, and I had an experience to back it up. I was up wheeling in the rocks, and they weren't big rocks. But anyway, I was coming down the hill, and I rolled. I lost air in the downhill tire, but it wasn't the outside bead that broke. It was the inside bead, because the thing wrinkled, and it wrinkled up the bead surface, and the tire just went flat right now.
Those large openings have a tendency to let the air go out very quickly.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, it was not the side you would expect. You would expect the side that is rolling under to be the one that you lose, and it wasn't. It was the inside where it was getting actually pressed against the rim that lost the air, and that's the one we had to reseat. So,
do you still lose a bead when you run a tube?
If you do, it's not a big deal. I like running tubes if I can. That same CJ5, I got a little airborne one day and didn't quite make it to the other side that I was aiming for, and I hit the top of a berm, and I bent my double tubed 44, and I bent about a 6-inch part on the bead on the rim, and you could see the tube and everything, and stick your finger in there and poke it, but never lost any air. It, finished the race with the tube visible.
Wow.
So, tubes are a good deal, and, unfortunately the industry has gotten away from using tubes even in bias ply tires, and I'm a firm believer.
So can you put tubes? I mean, if nothing else, it sounds like a great off-road addition. Can you put tubes in any tire?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. There's two kinds of tubes. There's radial tubes and bias ply tubes. And the bias ply tubes, you can get, there's all kinds of them for 31 and 32-inch tires, and you can stretch them a wee bit for a 33, no problem. And if you ever lose a bead, it's not a big deal. You still have air in the tire. You just may not have the bead seated. And in fact, I doubt that it'd even come off, because you'd never lose the air. And if it did, all you have to do is put a little air to it. Don't even have to take it off the vehicle or jack it up, and it would reseat it, and away you go.
Well, I thought, the internal beadlocks that are really quite expensive. It sounds like that would be a nice alternative to spending a lot of money for the internal beadlocks.
Yes, that's on my list of things to buy.
So you wouldn't just run a tube instead?
I'd rather run one of those instead, because the Stahn beadlocks, the internal beadlocks,
right,
gives you a run flat option also.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Well, you can. I mean, they don't advertise it, but it's a little taller than the rim, and so if you had a radial, for instance, that had a tear in the sidewall or some silly thing like that where you couldn't air it back up, a radial runs fine, almost flat, as long as you keep the rim off the sidewall rubber.
Right.
And you could just drive wherever you needed to drive on one of those. You put 50 pounds of air in those Stahns.
That's interesting. Those things are, what, $300-$400? Or maybe more. I can't remember.
$159 a pair, I think.
That's not as bad.
The way it is.
That's not as bad as I thought.
No, they're not too bad, and, they're reasonable. The thing is, though, if you take those down to your local four-wheel drive shop to have them install them, you might pay that much again.
Yeah, I understand they don't like those too much.
No, you got to drill a hole. You got to drill another hole in the rim and for the valve stem for the ston, and you got to put the tire on, and then you got to kind of take it off, and then you got to put the ston in, and then you got to put it on. You got to jockey things around. Make sure the little things that allow you to put air into the tire don't get moved around and this and that and the other, and I'd say it probably takes you an hour to mount a tire by hand. So yeah, they're not cheap to have it done. You'd want to do it yourself.
Right. How do you?
One other. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how do you handle that if you do mount the tires yourself and you're you have a failure on a tire? You can't take it. You don't have the road hazard, so you don't take it down and have somebody repair it. Do you keep spare tires, so that if you tear one up, you just mount another one? Or, I mean, obviously you got a spare tire, but
yeah. Well, I would have, if I got stons, I'd get 5 of them,
right,
and run a full size spare. And
but once you've torn up that tire, I would assume the ston would probably still be okay, but the tire itself you would need to replace. So you just go down and buy you another one and mount it yourself. I mean, I've thought about doing that too. I mean, how hard would it be to mount a tire? And you could always use the airsoft beads for dynamic balancing of the tire and wheel. But I was a little concerned about how much time would be involved if I went out there one day, like happened to me a couple of months ago, and one of the tires was flat. I mean, as it was, I was able to air the tire up, find out where the problem was, and estimate that I would be able to get to the tire place before I lost the air enough to damage the tire. So I went over there, and an hour and a half later, they've got it fixed. Frankly, I think it'd have been faster for me to change it, but anyway, that's the way I handled that.
Yeah. Well, I have a question actually about using the beads with a ston, because I think what would happen eventually is you would start getting beads in between the ston and the sidewall of the tire, and it would eventually rub a hole in the internal beadlock.
That's
where it touches the tire. They have had some issues with having a sharp spot on the inside of the bead, and they tell you now that you need to smooth all that stuff off. You need to have a smooth inside, or you can rub yourself a hole in it.
Oh, I didn't lose you, did I?
What's that?
I thought I lost you. Heard a little click there that I thought maybe I had disconnected.
No, I'm still here. But anyway, I question whether you can use the beads with the internal beadlock. Haven't heard anybody say definitively yes or no, but I have my doubts.
Okay, well, excuse my ignorance, but maybe this is good. Does that mean that you would have to use a wheel that did not have beads built into it, or you would have to remove those beads? Or, I mean, a bead isn't something they add, that's built into the wheel, correct?
What are you talking about? Well, the bead, what they normally call the bead, is that little raised lip that's about an inch from the outside of the rim there, where the tire bead, what they call it, sits. That's that area where the tire seals.
Yeah, it's the piece. It's a piece of. I guess it would be a combination of the wheel and the tire.
Yeah.
Would that whole thing be called the bead, or is the bead normally just the part on the wheel?
Actually, I think technically it is just the tire itself.
Okay. So does that mean that you would need to have tires that did not have a bead? Otherwise, it might damage the internal beadlock?
No, you need to have the bead on it, because the tire needs that friction so that it doesn't spin on the wheel.
Yeah, that makes sense. So are you saying that you may just wind up having a problem using the internal beadlocks because of the bead on the tire?
No, I just get good tires and balance them. I've got a bucket of old tire weights here and just balance the things myself. Okay, well, I'm sorry. I missed it, what you were talking about as far as the damage that can occur. How could the damage occur? Okay. What happens is with the internal beadlocks is you have an inner tube that's kind of contained inside of a solid band, and that solid band its function is to make that inner tube spread to the sides instead of spreading out. And so it's the pressure of that soft inner tube against the bead of the tire there that holds it to the rim and keeps it from popping off.
Right.
In a corner or something. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is that there has been some. I've looked at some other forums and so forth. There has been some times where and there is an alternative brand, by the way, that I found someplace. It's a little bit cheaper. But anyway, there is some instances where there was a sharp spot due to the molding on the inside of the tire. And that sharp rubber that wasn't just like the rest of the tire actually wore a hole in the beadlock, and then, of course, it leaked.
Okay.
And so that's why I say I'm going to say tentatively you probably can't use those airsoft little BBs in your tires for balancing with those internal beadlocks.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying now. That's where I missed it. I didn't catch the using the beads with the that. Well, I would think that would be a problem because the internal beadlocks is basically it's like an inner tube, isn't it? It just has more
just
friction.
An inner tube that's contained in a band is all it is.
Yeah. Okay. Now I understand, or I understand better. I won't say I understand completely. I think only fools do that. Although I'm foolish from time to time, but
I have been too, but I don't like to admit it.
Yeah, I try to minimize it as much as possible, or divert if I can.
Make sure nobody's looking.
Well, the neat thing about having admin powers on the site, if I type something in wrong, I can change it in my original post and all the quotes. If anybody quotes me, I can change it there too.
There you go.
So unless they do a screen capture, I'm good.
There you go. Well, I fixed one for Wayne over in New Zealand the other day. He had a misspelling, and I thought, let's fix this for him, and hit the edit button and fixed it for him, and nobody was the wiser.
Yep. That's my nature, is to correct things, and I have tried extremely hard not to do that on the site. I mean, I am by no means perfect when it comes to spelling or so on and so forth, but I use a spelling checker, and I try to make sure that I use the right words, because the spelling checker will authorize incorrect words like HEAR instead of HERE. So I try to pay attention to that. I try to make the sentence make sense, or the paragraph or whatever. I try to space things out, and I probably put about an 85% effort into the things that I write, and I will almost always refuse to proofread anything. But anyway, with that said, I've tried to stay really, really far away from editing people's stuff. About the only thing that I edit is pictures, because people will put pictures in there, and I don't know why. They will put the image tag, the image bracket, twice on the picture. And then whenever you're looking at the document or looking at the post, you see bracket, image, bracket, the picture, and then at the other end of it, you see the bracket / IMG bracket. So there's one individual that does that a lot that I'm going to send them a PM, but I just didn't want to put them off, because it's really nice having the pictures.
Yeah, well, I only did that once for Wayne, and I just, because I proofread everything because my typing is so bad. I have dyslexic fingers and fat fingers or something, I'm not sure, but I don't hit the letters I want to.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Here recently, I'd say in the last 5 years or so, I've started typing in letters that look similar to the letters that I'm wanting to type in, like an N for an H. And I think, what the hell am I doing? I mean, I think what the problem is,
in your line of work, huh?
I think the problem is that I'm thinking about something else. I've just gotten bored with typing, and I've gotten to a certain speed on my typing, and I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. And but I find it interesting that I'm typing letters that look similar to the letters that I'm trying to type.
Well, I do things like L's instead of S's and S's instead of L's, and
I can't help you there. That might be a sign of insanity. That's just weird.
Well, that's fine. It's people that are slightly insane that are more interesting anyway.
That is so true. my ex-wife was very interesting, but it's like the Chinese curse: may you live in interesting times.
So, no, I can't type worth beans. If I take a job that requires typing, they won't hire me.
Oh, I couldn't do it if it was like back whenever I first was learning how to type and everybody was using typewriters. That was before the computer revolution or the personal computer revolution. So it was all...
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was. I was sitting there in typing class. My mom thought it would be a good idea for me to take typing, and I thought, yeah, why the hell not? I think it was 10th grade that I took typing, and I was in there with 30 girls and one effeminate guy. And I could get up to about 45 words per minute, and he got up to around 80. But I didn't have I didn't have his skinny fingers.
Yeah, well, my typing class that I took in high school was a riot.
Oh, I had a blast with all those girls in there, and as shy as I was, I still had a very good time.
Oh, well, in my typing class, the teacher did not have control of the classroom.
That sounds good.
And there wasn't a lot of typing going on.
Oh, well, that's not so good.
I don't know if you've seen the world's largest spitwad yet, but somebody made one that covered the entire clock.
Wow. I think that's called paper mache.
Yeah, I think it was. But you couldn't read the clock.
That was an art class. That wasn't typing.
Well, it was in the typing classroom, and the other thing was that you didn't sit down until you looked at your chair and brushed it.
Wow.
Because if you got up, there was a tack on it. And we even set one up for the teacher that way. And she sat on that thing, and she must have had a cast iron girdle because she just kept saying, "This chair feels funny."
My goodness. I don't know how you guys contained yourselves. I don't know how anybody contained themselves.
Well, I'm just telling you, there wasn't a lot of typing going on.
Well, but I mean, while she's sitting there doing that, I think there would have been an awful lot of laughing.
Well, we were trying not to.
That's what I'm saying. Being able to contain that laughter. See,
yeah, it was tough.
The neat thing, and actually, I need to check this. I was just going to say, the neat thing these days, of course, if it didn't get you permanently suspended from school for terroristic activities, if there was a teacher that was cool about it, you would get to see these things on YouTube because the kids and the phones with the the ability to record video.
Oh yeah. That there's been a lot of that nowadays, and there's been some teachers that have gotten into some hot water.
Yeah.
And I've done some teaching, and I'll tell you what, it is hard to maintain control of the classroom.
Yeah, without the threat of paddling like they used to do with us when we were in junior high and high school.
I had some good ones that I used. One of them was called Work. Worst class I had ever was a 5th and 6th grade class combined, and 4 fights in a couple of months. I mean, these guys were just out of control. They'd run the other teacher out of there, and so the principal wasn't doing anything but giving them a 5-minute lecture and all that stuff. So what I did is I'd grab them by the scruff of the neck and separate them and march them someplace else, and I'd hand them weeding tools, those kind of things you pop dandelions out of the ground with,
right?
And a plastic bag, and said, you're over there, fill the bags. During recess and lunch and all kinds of stuff, I want to tell you what, straighten them out pretty good.
Oh, sure.
Worst offenders.
Sure, boredom.
The worst offenders. Oh, yeah. Well, everybody's having fun with them. Then the worst offenders, I gave them pages out of the dictionary to copy. They had to copy all the little squiggles and all the phonetics and all that stuff, and made them do that on their lunch breaks and recess and PE and all that stuff. And after I started doing that, I didn't have any more trouble with them.
Well, that sounds a lot. I mean, that says a lot about you, because getting them to do that would be the hardest thing.
Well, it's either that or they're expelled. Just say, hey, you don't do it, you're out of here. Go home. Tell your folks about it. See ya. Tell them come pick you up.
Yeah, whatever worked. I would have a hard time being a teacher. Very hard time. I'm definitely a hands-on type of person.
Well, I am too, but I'll tell you, you gotta be tough with kids, or they'll run right over the top of you.
Oh, of course.
Especially, in these classrooms they're having now, with over 30 kids. That's really tough.
I just saw something here on UStream I've never seen before. It says that I've been recording for 180 minutes. And what do I want to do? And I didn't really read it. I just said continue recording. I wonder if I'm being charged.
I have no idea. You need to hang up?
No. This is on UStream, not on the phone. The thing I'm using to send out the show.
Oh, okay. Well,
I thought
at any
Wayne
rate,
was living there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
At any rate, why don't you PM me when you want to set up a podcast or something like that? And
we probably need to get on the phone or something and talk about it. Maybe we can talk about it prior to doing the interview. I mean, I could do it live, but I thought probably what we would do is just record something, not online, and then I would use it and play it during the show. And maybe you could be there to answer any questions that way, and we could go through and perhaps have some cohesive thought going through it, instead of the hodgepodge nature I have as far as asking questions and losing my train of thought and et cetera, et cetera. But, maybe we can get on the phone and discuss it. And, there's several aspects about your Jeep that I find interesting, but I'm not too sure that you think they're as interesting as maybe something else would be. And it might be best for us to go in that direction instead.
Just a second. What?
For all those of you that are still here or listening to the podcast, that is what looks to be a really ugly picture of the business cards, the XJ Talk business cards. Unfortunately, I can't afford to buy them for you, but if you would like to order some, I can just be the go-between guy, and for no additional money, I think the total is around $18.30. You get 500 of these cards, and you can't really see it, but in the lower right-hand corner is your member name from XJ Talk. And it makes it real simple to, if you're talking to somebody about their Jeep or xjtalk.com, you just grab a card and hand it to them. And it's nothing I expect anybody to do. It's just something that I was able to, I did for myself, and then I've had several members that have ponied up the money to buy their own cards.
Tony?
Yes, sir.
I'll let you go now. Wife was reminding me that these are cell minutes, so anyway, just PM me and we'll set something up and we'll go from there.
Excellent. Thank you a lot, Steve. Great interview.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. So I may need to stop broadcasting here momentarily so that I can continue recording the show. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and give that a try and see if that fixes, I don't want to say the problem, but I've hit the 180-minute limit for the recording, and I really don't want to lose any of this. So stand by. I'm going to stop recording and then start right back up. No, it looks like it's not going to let me do it. So we'll just continue on. And I think everybody understood this. I don't think I said, but my plan was to keep the show going until midnight my time, and that's about 34 minutes from now. And certainly if you got something better to do, I understand. I'll be here. If you need to go do something and come back, I'll be here until midnight Central Time, like I said, about 34 minutes from now. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a break. I'm going to play some music, and I'm going to go get me some more tea. So I think I can do all that in one song, but I'll get two here ready just in case. So yeah, these will be good ones right here. Plop, 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 plop. Well, I guess I could always loop it, but anyway, I'll just do it this way. Okay, here is, I know Terrell was asking earlier, and you guys may be curious. This is Emptiness. That's why I need the T. Emptiness by Alexander Blue. Well, that was pretty cool. This song isn't even over yet, and I was able to go to the bathroom, throw some more, what do you call it? Dehydrated tea. Hang on. Good, I caught it in time. Instant tea. I was able to throw another scoop of instant tea in my big glass and get back here, and still made it back before the song was over. So, successful test. Sorry about breathing into the microphone. I need to get one of those little pop shields so I don't hear it on there. Well, thank you. They were telling me that, I'm sorry, Blue Dragon James says, nice music, Tony. Are you feeling all alone? It's you and 3 guests. Don't forget, there's 3 guests. So, who knows if they're actually listening, but they are there. So there's always the potential. And I'm still recording the podcast, even though this the UStream thing petered out on me after 180 minutes. The podcast continues because that's controlled by me. Yeah, I don't know if you have found all the little gizmos on the chat room, but there's looks like a gear and then what looks like to be a person, well, kind of a stick figure almost. If you click on that little thing that looks like a person, it opens up the little side window that tells you who's watching the show or listening. And I see that I'm there, you're there, and then 3 guests. And I think what it is most people on the East Coast have hit midnight and went to bed, or their wife or somebody slapping them in the back of the head saying, get off the computer and come here and be with me or your family. I fixed the tea and I didn't get a drink. Let me get a drink quick. So how's the audio been on the phone calls? Are you able to hear everybody okay? Excellent. So I think I've got everything connected up the way I want to connect it up with with Skype. And actually the Skype I had not tested until today. Wayne was the first time that I've tested it. Speaking with Wayne earlier, that was the first time I've tested it. I don't think you were here when Wayne was on, but you can hear that on the podcast. And he said something about being on calling in next Wednesday, so he'll probably be on next Wednesday's show, and hopefully Rini can be on there too, and it'll be fun hearing them go back and forth. They're pretty good friends, and I know that they've talked between the two of them on several occasions. So I think it is just really cool how we have members from all over the world and friendships because of the site. I mean, gosh, what is that? 11,000, 12,000 miles? I guess I need to get on Google Map and see how far that is from Houston, Texas to Christchurch, New Zealand. I sure do hate all the earthquakes and aftershocks they're having over there. It's just amazing since that 7.1 that they had, that I've heard little or nothing about, except through Wayne. It's just amazing how many aftershocks they've had. It is. We have a regular member that checks in from Mongolia, and I don't know if you saw. I cannot remember his member name right now. But we actually had a member sign up from Japan, and he has the most beautiful avatar of his Jeep Cherokee in front of what are those? There's a tree over there that's very popular, kind of a pink leaves or flowers on it. Just absolutely gorgeous background. And it is just a wonderful shot of his XJ and what would be, at least in my mind, a very oriental setting. And it being in Japan, I guess would make it oriental. But what I was going to say is he doesn't speak English. He speaks Japanese. And he was using, I think, Google Translate to post things up on the site. And I'll tell you what, that's some dedication. Wanting to be on the get on the site bad enough where you'll spend time taking the post and converting them into Japanese. Just looking at my phone beeped at me and just looking to see what's on here. It looks like it's just the standard. Well, I think the phone call-in worked pretty well, except whenever more than one person was trying to call in at a time. I forgot about the call waiting. I probably should have disabled that, Of course, that's the neat thing about doing this stuff. You get to learn about it. Did you want to try calling in again? Just waiting for James to respond. Let's see, I think I'll play some music. I love this song. Try to have it down a little low in the background. What phone is it? James says it does. He says, no, my phone still won't cut on. It does that randomly, where it will be off for a few hours, then works just fine. Wow, that sounds heat related. It's a LG Voyager. How's the music? Is that too loud, too soft? Keeping in mind that I want to be heard. I was hoping you were talking about the phone. You know, a while ago, when I had, I think it was Wayne on Skype, and then I got that other call. James says, yeah, the phone out the window, not the music. When I got that other call on Skype, when Wayne was on, it gave me the option of answering it. And now I'm wondering if maybe it wouldn't have acted like a conference call. That would have been really cool. Actually have the ability to have multiple people on through Skype. It might get a little confusing for the people that are listening, but it could be nice from the standpoint of having large conversations. I mean, you know, it's fun to try things out, and it's like the other night, last Wednesday, I had three call-in guests, and we had some technical issues, but James says get Jim thrown into the mix. He would have to self bleep himself. You know, it's funny too, because Jim says something about he uses F word normally in his conversation, and I don't recall being there at Sonic listening to a bunch of blue language, so I'm not so sure how true that is. You know, it really surprised me that I just know Jim is this big, nice guy. You know, somebody was giving me a hard time about this being technoid music. I like technoid. It sounds technical. I need to get some more pictures to... Yeah, well, this is the way it is with language. I mean, sometimes the emotion gets the best of you. I had a good time with this picture. I had several people that had never seen the original picture. I don't know. I think it's a Cherokee, but it's the one that came before this body style. I don't mean the 97. I mean the prior to 84. It was actually in this picture, and I don't know if it was real or not. But boy, there's just no way in hell. I mean, you're not talking about the Jeep being damaged because you roll it. You're talking about you and anything else that's in it being damaged beyond repair. Yeah, that's an old picture of my Jeep too. That's I guess I got the winch last year at Christmas time. Yeah. So this was a picture before that. So it's at least a year old. Well, you know, the song is really nice, and then they kind of go into the techno. It doesn't sound techno when it starts, and then they kind of hit it. And I don't know. I didn't use it because I didn't use it for the intro on the site. On the show, because it has vocals in it. Other than that, it's pretty cool. The one I'm using, the Pray from 7BZH is has some vocals in it, but it's like 2/3 music and like 1/3 vocals. So I just took that section of the vocals out, and I think this is the entire song. So you may be able to hear the vocals in the back. This sounds a lot like a song that I've heard before, and I can't place it.
Strife.
So I took him to the back door, and he was just so happy. He's going to get to go pee. It looks like he's been holding it for a while. So he's almost doing circles. We're going down the stairs and going out to the back door. Circles, circles, circles. I open the door, and I can't get it open fast enough for him to get out. And he goes out there, and he stands on the concrete pad, and all these fireworks and stuff are going off, and there's, not flares, but like the stuff that they shoot up in the air that's bright, and all this stuff going off. And he stands there, and I tell him, "It's okay, buddy, go ahead." And he turns around and comes back in the house. So I got a dog full of pee. Let's see. Trying to get the picture in the picture back up. Come here, buddy. He's not too happy. There you go, buddy. Now I can see you. I think I'm squeezing his pee. He's going to wish he went outside. Because it's just going to get worse, whenever it gets to be midnight here, which is 11 minutes away. I don't know if he was barking because he had to go outside. I mean, he was acting like it. But sometimes he'll come up and bark at you just because he's bored. I've tried to teach him to watch television, but, no go. He'll watch, but he asks too much questions. It's hard for him to follow the plot. It's really funny. We got this dog from the pound for our girls, and he's with Susie and I all the time. I mean, we don't mind it. It's just not what we got the dog for. I mean, he plays around with the girls a lot, but he usually sleeps with us. It's been a real good dog. Traditionally, I don't like getting dogs that are